Warning! The Stone Age Gamer podcast includes a lot of bad language. Cover your motherfucking ears.
Good evening, and welcome to the Stone Age Gamer podcast. Sorry I'm speaking so loud, I'm just very excited. My name is Daniel Ryan Esquire VII. Joining me this evening is Christopher Palantonio Randazzo the 31st.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It is my honor to be here among you very fine people.
That's right,
Again,
on both sides.
I apologize for the outburst. I'm just a little worked up over tonight's feature topic, the Alphabet Super Series, for the letter P, Power Blade 2, for Nintendo's Entertainment System.
That's right, I believe it was called the NES in most places, also referred to as the NES in some of the more backwater states.
Yes, I've heard this. I have heard this several times in my travels. I've spent a lot of time in the southern United States over the last several years, breaking into people's homes and finding what kind of video game consoles they had connected to their televisions in search of a copy of Power Blade 2. I did not find any, and was in fact arrested several times.
You did find quite a deal of meth, though, if I understand your flip journal correctly. It's just stick figures. It's a very avant-garde form of communication that I am just mesmerized by. It's breathtaking.
The extraordinary amount of meth is why I am so hyped up this evening.
It shows in your voice.
Thank you. Let's torch this place and get away, because the Stone Age Gamer podcast starts now. Hi, everyone. I don't know why we did that.
That was fucking unhinged. Good God.
I didn't get to call you the man in the Newt suit, Dan.
Oh, damn it. I do want to be the man in the Newt suit. It's really the only one you need.
Suit. Is it? I don't know that jetpack suit. No, we'll talk about it later. It's the week of October 4th, 2024, and welcome for anyone new here. We usually don't sound like that.
No, that is... I don't know what that was.
That's committing to the bit.
Motherfucker.
That's what that is.
Yeah,
Yeah. Anyway, for anyone new here, this is the official podcast of StoneAgeGamer.com. Dan and I talk every week about what's happening in the world of video games from a retro gamer's perspective and whatever else we want to talk about that's going on in our lives. And speaking of which, how on earth are you?
Oh, I'm all right, Chris. I do like that I've realized in your intro from a retro gamer's perspective is just a couple of older gentlemen bitching about games. Is what that sounds like.
It's the creative way of saying that without saying it.
That's right. I'm doing all right, Chris. I had my fourth infusion today, the day of our recording, which went fine. I had some really, really good news. I think potentially good news, right? Before I got the infusion. Every other infusion, I get a follow-up with either my oncology nurse or my doctor. And I spoke to both my doctor and my oncology nurse today, and they were both of the opinion, unscientifically, just, like the field test, but they are trained, that the lymph nodes in question in my body have shrunk significantly in some areas. Yeah, no, I know. A little bit of shrinkage. It's the shrinkage you want, Chris.
Happens to lots of guys your age. It's perfectly normal. It's nature's way.
It does. It's nature's way of saying, stop fucking having children. Jesus, what's wrong with you people? the planet is overpopulated. I've made all of your dicks soft. And you were like, we will fix that with string and iodine and notes from our parents. What? Jesus, and Eddie is a bit. Anyway, so unscientifically, they were, everybody's of the opinion, me and Tiff obviously spend a lot of time obsessing over these lymph nodes, and everybody seems to think that things are trending in a positive direction. How positive that direction is, we obviously won't know until we have a PET scan, which will happen in about 12 days from now, which is good because next week, by the time you guys hear this, I will have had a birthday. I will be 44. My birthday is on the 2nd, so this will come out as a late birthday present from me to all of you on my birthday. Or an early birthday present from me to some of you who like to give us money, which is our favorite people, honestly. Not that it's a competition, but it is. No. It's fucking terrible. I'm kidding. So I'll have the PET scan, and hopefully we'll get some actual, like, verifiable, scientifically proven good news, whatever that good news is. I'm certainly not expecting for them to be like, yep, you're in remission, you don't have to do this anymore. Like, that's not going to happen. But mentally getting some amount of this shrunk will be, I think, just a boon to my overall well-being, Because, this week...
You have a lot of pets. I imagine a PET scan's going to take quite a long time.
I would imagine too. Were you sitting on that one for the last 3 minutes? That was good. I
wanted to let you keep talking, but I really wanted to get that one out before I forgot about it. No, I was very, very proud of it.
No, it's outstanding. The shitty part, and
is this episode? What is wrong with?
I don't know. This is great so far. I'm enjoying myself quite a bit.
Me too. Oh,
the steroids work wonders.
Yeah, you got an excuse.
No, I do, because I feel this is the best I felt since 2 weeks ago when I got injected with all of the steroids.
Every last one of them.
Every last one. Me and Canseco and McGuire out there fucking bashing forearms and shit. I flew out to Oakland to close the Coliseum. It was great. No, what? This week. Oh, God, I almost choked to death on the... Wouldn't that be some shit if I just choked to death on the podcast? No.
What?
Chemo's going well. Water. I don't know. Kris, I don't fucking know, because I've had a heartburn and the lump in your throat feeling since last Saturday. It's now Friday. It's been mentally tough this week because the first 2 infusion cycles, by day 10 after the infusion, I felt as normal as I feel currently. You know what I mean? I didn't feel good, certainly, because there's cancer ravaging my body. However, I felt somewhat normal. The stomach issues kind of abated. My taste came back for the most part by day 10 or so. The bone pain stopped. All of those things seemed to go away by day 10, day 11-ish, And then I could get 4 to 5 days, depending on the week, of feeling normal-ish, and then go for the next infusion, start the roller coaster again. That did not happen this time. I went to the emergency room last Sunday because my heartburn, the feeling in my throat just hadn't gone. It was there for 2 days, right? And you get that lump in your throat feeling. It's called a globulus reaction, I think it's called, something like that. Globulus is in there, which is a horrible thing to fucking make people who have that say.
It was named by a toddler.
Really, my globulus hurts. Oh, that's pretty good. Put them on. You're on the team. But because you get that heartburn and you get that gas pain and bloating and that sort of thing, and it just feels like there's something stuck at the base of your throat. And it's worse if you lay down or whatever. And I've had that for over a week, and it's just been uncomfortable and a ridiculous amount of like stomach cramping and bloating, which is just not something that I'm used to, because apparently what is happening is that the chemotherapy it kills the quickly reproducing cells. That's why it's so good at killing cancer, right? Because cancer is a rapidly producing cell. However, unfortunately, rapidly reproducing cells are not just cancerous in your body. They're also your taste buds and your gut bacteria and things like that. So it's killing all of the good gut bacteria that I have. And then as I eat, it's not working the way that it should. And like there's excess gas and bloating and heartburn and all of that. So I ended up in the ER because they were like, it could be a heart attack. I was like, it's not a fucking heart attack, guys. Jesus. I'm on the meds for that too. They're like, we just have to be, you have to be safe because my resting heart rate is elevated, steroids, and stays elevated for a pretty decent amount of time after the infusions. And they just wanted to make sure it's nothing with my heart. So I got a surprise EKG and a surprise EEG and a chest x-ray and like all of that shit. Everything's fine. And they were just like, yeah, I mean, this just is kind of your life now until you're done. It's like, thanks. Cool. We'll give you some more like prescriptions that'll help with it. But it's probably not going to go away fully. So buckle up, Buttercup. I'm sorry. Things are going to get worse. And that was like, that's mentally draining. You know what I mean? Of like, oh, so I'm not going to get any days of respite here now. Like, this is just it going forward, minus like maybe the day of steroids. But I can feel it right now, even as I'm talking. So like, it hasn't gone away. I'm just getting used to it, I guess. I don't know. It's frustrating week.
Yeah, I hear you on the frustrating week part. I mean, obviously not quite as frustrating as yours, but I took the week off of work because I had vacation time. It was the user-used vacation time. And so I was officially, after we recorded the podcast last week, was when I was officially on vacation. And then the next day I got sick and stayed that way until Wednesday. So I've been miserable and catching up on work all week, right? I had planned to like kind of relax and do a couple of things. And one of the things I wanted to do was I wanted to write for fun. And what better thing to do than write the script for the next Mario episode? Because that was that's a fun thing that I enjoyed doing. And the plan was that was going to be my Monday.
But still kind of work.
It is technically, it is for my job.
Okay.
But the goal was, like, what I really want to do is I want to, like, lose myself in research and just spend time writing something I really want to write without a looming deadline. And so, like, my goal was, I'd like to just get that done. I'm just going to dedicate Monday to it. That should be enough time to get it done. But since I was sick as hell, it was slow going. I also got lost in an interesting bit of research trying to figure out when Yoshi's Island was announced, which was a really fun and weird rabbit hole to fall down, right? Because I was trying to obviously put in historical context the whole Yoshi's Island thing, because Yoshi's Island for Super Nintendo was such a weird and interesting game because it flew directly in the face of where the industry was trending on a couple of different levels, and also a trend that Nintendo themselves set with Donkey Kong Country. Like, looking back at video game media from that period of time, it's just impossible to overstate how big Donkey Kong Country was and the ripple effect it sent throughout the industry, because you've got all these next-generation platforms on their way. We already know about Project Reality, and but then Nintendo drops... And
here was a game that looked real.
It looked like a next-generation game on a Super Nintendo. Like,
not just Mortal Kombat. Like, we expected that from the arcade. Sure, that's an arcade system. That looks real. This is a home console. Crazy.
Pushing, it was just absolutely insane. And so many other... Like, everyone was trying to make games that looked like that. And Yoshi's Island went in this totally different direction partially on purpose. Like, there was apparently some sort of directive at Nintendo where they're like, you need to make this game look CG like Donkey Kong Country, and they're like, we're a little too far along for that, so no.
Absolutely fucking not.
That's just not gonna happen. And like, honestly, that game kind of got lost in the shuffle because it was coming out around the same time as Donkey Kong Country 2, which was really where the focus of even Nintendo's own hype was around Donkey Kong Country 2 and the Virtual Boy is happening. Like, there was just so much stuff happening at that time. But I wanted to find, like, where was this game announced? Where did this come from? Because I remember there being lots of talk for a number of years about, well, where's Super Mario World 2, right? We've got Super Mario World and Sonic the Hedgehog.
Where do we go?
Come out around the same time. Sonic takes off with this immense popularity, followed with Sonic 2, Sonic 3, and Sonic and Knuckles, all on Genesis. And that doesn't include Sonic Spinball and 3D Blast. Like, the Genesis had a ton of Sonic games. And the Super Nintendo had Mario World, right? There was spin-offs like, Mario Kart and edutainment titles like Mario's Missing. But, like, Mario World was the Mario platformer. That was it.
Right.
Until Yoshi's Island. And even Yoshi's Island wasn't really a Mario platformer. It was marketed as Mario World 2, but it was really the start of the Yoshi series because it plays nothing like Super Mario World. It's a totally different game. So I'm trying to figure out, where exactly did this get dropped? Where did we start seeing rumors of a Super Mario World 2, and how did that go? And my basis for this is Nintendo Power, because that's a pretty clear picture of what Nintendo wanted out there in the world. And it's easier for me to search because I have them. And I know other things got leaked from lots of import websites through magazines like EGM and GamePro. But the story being told through Nintendo Power is one of the easier ones to tell. So that tends to be my baseline on when things, especially first-party Nintendo titles, get their sort of official unveilings, right? Because that was back when Nintendo Power was the propaganda mag for Nintendo, This was before...
Right, it was the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, this was before Future US, where Nintendo Power kind of became an actual magazine and not like, this is what we want you to know kind of a thing. So I looked at, all right, so the way I usually do these things is I look at, well, when did the game come out? All right, this came out in October of, 94, I think. So let me go back a bunch of months. And just because I feel like there was some sort of rumor mill stuff floating around dating back a while, I'm going to go all the way back to January on this one, just to take a shot. So I'm in the January 95 issue of Nintendo Power, and, table of contents, nothing says anything about Super Mario World 2, no rumors. It's not showing up on any of the charts of things that are upcoming. However, I got to this page in the issue that was the cover of this little bonus feature section where they were talking about the big upcoming games for 1995. And right there in the middle, in a little tiny circle, is a screenshot of Yoshi's Island. And I have this weird memory of seeing that too, being like, what is that? Because it's just a picture. It doesn't say Yoshi's Island or anything on it. It's just a picture of a red Yoshi jumping over some donut blocks and Baby Mario on his back, which you can't really tell what that is. It just looks like, is that a baby with Mario's hat on? What am I looking at? This game is not mentioned.
What exactly is this?
This game is not mentioned anywhere in the magazine. Anywhere. Not in that segment. Nowhere. Clearly, somebody at Nintendo Power made that cover and was like, oh, these are all the games that are coming. Well, obviously, this one should be mentioned. But whoever was writing the piece probably got, this is just my guess, the directive that they were not ready to announce this game in any way, shape, or form. So it just got overlooked. This one little tiny circle with a picture of Yoshi's Island. Now, obviously, we know what that is now. I can look at any picture and say, that's Yoshi's Island. That has such a distinct look. But back then, it's just, this is clearly not from Super Mario World or any game I've ever seen, but it's not mentioned anywhere in the magazine, and it's never mentioned in Nintendo Power for another... It didn't come out until the July issue. Wasn't that the first preview for Mario World 2? So there was this one little tiny screenshot. It was like, well, what the hell is this? And then they waited 6 months to say anything about it. And I have to imagine they got letters, people asking what that was. But I checked every issue.
You would imagine, yeah.
No, they never printed any letters that anybody sent them about it. They never printed anything about it. It was just, here's this one little picture and then nothing. and I can't seem to find any info about it. Like, I felt like this is the kind of thing that you would be able to search, like Nintendo Power Yoshi's Island early picture leak or something. Nothing I could come up with. Nobody talking about this thing that apparently happened in Nintendo Power and just kind of got glossed right underneath the table. But I thought that was fascinating. Yeah, it was a fascinating afternoon digging into all that. And the script was a challenge because I wound up writing. This is the episode that's going to cover Mario 64, and
right.
I wound up writing more.
Sorry, that was a big swallow noise, and I apologize, Evan. That sucked. My bad.
I wound up writing more about I finished the Mario 64 segment, which I kind of felt like pulling teeth at first because I love Mario 64, but I don't like. I love that time. I love the beginning of that game, but I really don't love that game. And so I wound up writing way more about Yoshi's Island than Mario 64. I was like, well, I can't do that because if we're talking about the actual history of the Mario series, Mario 64 is a fucking megaton game. Like that is the bombshell. It's the biggest revolution in the way games were made since the first Super Mario Brothers. Like, so I had to take several runs at Super Mario 64 to kind of beef it up and kind of really relay the excitement of Mario 64 like around that time. Because again, like Donkey Kong Country, that's one of those things that's, you look at that, especially in retrospect, and like Nintendo is so late to this next generation console war, right? PlayStation and Saturn have been out for a while. N64 is getting pushed back. They've hemorrhaged every third-party partnership they had that mattered, except like Midway, right? Every Japanese, Konami, Capcom, they're all just ran screaming from Nintendo and their adherence to this the cartridge format. And plus, PlayStation is extremely welcoming with super cheap to produce CD-based media where you can fit tons and tons of information on these super cheap discs. Their fees and everything are so much lower. They were super easy to work with, and Nintendo was still very Nintendo. And even against all of that, and all the negative press the N64 was getting, the consumer confusion after having it announced as Nintendo Ultra 64, and then releasing Killer Instinct and Cruis'n USA with Ultra 64 is coming, then they do a name change before the system comes out, it gets delayed, PlayStation's taking off with insane numbers, the number of games that are actually coming to the Nintendo 64 is dwindling and paltry compared to PlayStation. And PlayStation launches just a few weeks before the North American launch of the Nintendo 64. They launch Crash Bandicoot, which immediately takes off and sells a bajillion copies.
Huge. Yeah.
Even in the face of all that, Mario 64 was so humongous that it made the N64 the item of that Christmas. Not just the video game item, the item. That was the thing that people were stomping on each other to get that holiday season. For months, the N64 is selling out just because of Super Mario 64. Then, of course, everything balances out because the PlayStation is the freaking PlayStation, and Sega can't keep up. Nintendo, clawed on for dear life. They had huge megaton games like Ocarina of Time and GoldenEye, but by far, what was the number I saw? I didn't. What I wrote in my script was,
it was a lot to a little.
While its initial success was overwhelming, it didn't necessarily translate to long-term sales for the Nintendo 64. Nintendo's decision to maintain the cartridge format, coupled with the unbridled success of Sony's PlayStation, dealt Nintendo its most significant blow ever, officially toppling the company as the market leader, with the PlayStation selling over 102 million units to the Nintendo 64's 32.9.
Oh,
I don't even think I realized that the gap was that freaking huge between PlayStation and N64. Like, I knew it was big, but holy crap, that is huge.
Well, and it also is where, right, like, it's definitely where I fell off the Nintendo bandwagon hard, because everybody tried to tell me how amazing Mario 64 was and is, and it's not. It's important.
At the time, I felt it was, like, at least the beginning, right? That open field where you have the analog stick and you can run around and the camera works.
10 minutes.
And that, is
that first 10 minutes is magical. And
exactly.
then
it's pure magic.
The rest of the game starts.
Then the rest of the game happens.
Like, that's how I feel, right? It's a wrestling trope of, like, you know, the guy or the girl or whatever has the look and has the entrance and has the music and has the chant and has all of the things and cuts a good promo, and then the bell rings and they suck. You know, like, they have all the other pieces that make, like, everybody, fuck, we love this person, and then they start wrestling and it's quiet, you know, which is like death for a fucking wrestler if the crowd is quiet when you're in the ring, because you're just not all that engaging. And that is how I felt with Mario 64. And even in that replay, when I bought the collection a few years ago, I felt exactly the same way again. I certainly got further into it, and could appreciate some of the things that it did, but it's very much like, and I don't say this disparagingly, like it's a one-trick pony, and it does that one trick very, very well, but in my opinion, it gets very, very boring very quickly. So I know that I fell off hard because of that. And then Nintendo, it seems to me, and maybe I'm misremembering it, which is entirely possible, because Chemo Brain, I can't fucking remember shit, by the way. That is a thing that's also started to happen. I don't know. Tiff and I had a whole conversation about something that we're setting up, and then like 20 minutes later, she was like, oh, that thing we were talking about. I was like, what are you talking about? I have no idea. So I might be misremembering, but that's really where the separation came, at least from a PR standpoint, of if you're a kid, you play Nintendo games, and if you're a gamer, you play PlayStation. We've got Metal Gear Solid. That was PlayStation's thing. That was you grew up, and this is the system for you. You're not getting the next Nintendo because it didn't grow up with you. Well, and that was the thing. Nintendo audience kept making war games are for everyone. That was Nintendo's thing. It's always has been. Our games are not for kids. They're not only for grown-ups. Our games are for everyone. And they did a little bit of that with Play It Loud in the Super Nintendo era, because they had to compete with Sega. But Sony did what Sega did 10 trillion times harder. They were like, no, this is future technology. This is Sony, the company that made your fucking Walkman. And this is where video games are cool. And CDs, which you fucking love. Like all of this cool shit that you like. This is Resident Evil. This is Tomb Raider. This is where games are cool. And they just walked all over Nintendo with that, because that's where the industry was at that point. Right. This is where games are. Now you look at the industry where it is now, and games being cool, it's just like comic books and comic book movies. You remember being like a comic book nerd back in the day, and now Marvel's mainstream? Yeah. Like, it's so weird that, like, Nintendo being Nintendo now is fine. There's nothing not cool about it, unless you're a weird console warrior person. But, like, this kind of stuff is like, everyone plays Mario Kart. Nobody's got a problem with that. But, like, there was a stigma, this, like, coolness stigma, because that's where the industry was at this growing up point, where it's like, well, now we're teenagers, and we've got to make sure we look like it. And it's not like, when you look at the games Nintendo 64 is known for, GoldenEye is one of them. GoldenEye and Perfect Dark are two of the games that entire console generation is known for, and they are absolutely not kids games. They're shooters. No, and it's that perception. That perception is just, when you think of the Nintendo 64, you think of Mario 64, and you think of big googly eyes and Banjo-Kazooie. Like, you think of that. Like, oh, the N64 was just all 3D platformers. But it wasn't. There was like 6. No. It was like Mario 64 and like Tonic Trouble and Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie. Croc 64? Like, no, was Croc 64 a thing? Because Croc was PlayStation and Saturn. I don't think they ever made Croc on 64. I'm just throwing shit out there. Uniracers? Uniracers was Super Nintendo. You're thinking Rocket Robot on Wheels. So Croc is such an interesting thing, and I wanted to put something about Croc into the script, but it was a year later, so I didn't really want to mess with it. But Croc is fascinating because Croc was from Argonaut Software,
Argonaut Software is who developed the Super FX chip for Super Nintendo when they released Star Fox, which is where Miyamoto began conceptualizing a 3D Mario game. But he couldn't make it work on the Super Nintendo. And this is something else I learned. He didn't say it was. He didn't think that it was not doable on Super Nintendo because of the system. It was just the controller. It's like you can't. Yeah. I can't use a D-pad to make this character move around in 3D space, and that's part of what made Mario 64 so revolutionary. Because Nintendo didn't release the first analog controller like a lot of people think they did. They did not create that technology, but they were the first ones to popularize it because they were the first ones to build a system around the inclusion of an analog controller in the box.
Right.
PlayStation and Saturn did not do that. They had digital controllers only when their systems launched. It's a really fascinating piece of gaming history, and I'm very happy with the way the script came out and the way history very naturally made it an easy transition to finish talking about Nintendo's, like, the N64 kind of didn't tank. It was by no means a failure. It was a successful platform for Nintendo. It just was nothing compared to where the PlayStation was. But it also ultimately didn't matter because of Nintendo's handheld division, which was not a part of this. This whole
it's
story
just a
here
thing unto itself.
This part was really the only stuff I talked about. This whole freaking script that's, I think, 33 minutes long the last time I read it, is just covering Mario Clash, Yoshi's Island, and Mario 64. Like, that's really all I'm covering, except there's so much history happening around them. Whereas the next episode is where all the portable Mario games started coming. All the Mario Advance games, Super Mario Brothers Deluxe, and then, of course, Luigi's Mansion and Mario Sunshine thrown in there.
Right.
But the transition to that, because around Super Mario 64, right? Mario 64, I'm looking at 96? Was it 95 or 96?
Yeah.
I want to say it was 96.
I think 96.
September 29th, 1996. And
I seem to remember being like 15 or 16 and going to my buddy Ronnie's house and, like, because he pre-ordered the 64 and playing those first 10 minutes and being like, all right, well, can we put on Turok now? You know, like, no, we probably shouldn't have done that either.
But also in Japan in 1996, earlier that year, was Pokemon. So Nintendo's gearing up to be launching the Pokemon series. It doesn't hit North America until 98, which is friggin' wild. I definitely need to bear that in mind while I'm piecing this together. But Super Mario 64 is like, their handheld division is exploding in Japan because of Pokemon. So, as the Nintendo 64 continues to kind of like decline, it doesn't ultimately matter, which is so crazy to me, right? Because the next one, wow, that's a wait. So Super Mario 64 is September 96, and the next Mario platformer that was released was Super Mario Brothers Deluxe on Game Boy Color in 1999.
That's a long time.
There's 3 years, and that wasn't even a new game. That was Super Mario Brothers. It's an amazing version of Super Mario Brothers. There's that, and Mario Advance in 2001, Luigi's Mansion also in 2001, Advance 2 in 2002,
relatively
Sunshine
stingy
2002.
with proper Mario games.
They are. They didn't
Nintendo
used to be when they
stingy.
created them, but they take those games pretty seriously. Well, I mean, eventually you get the new Super Mario Brothers games, and those came out pretty quickly. But yeah, that was a big gap. The Mario 64 to Mario Sunshine, we're talking 1996 to 2002.
That's a decent chunk.
Yeah, that's a decent chunk.
It's funny that you say too. Everybody plays Mario Kart, and like it's not even a thing. My kids actually have joined because they're in high school now, and one of the after-school programs that their school offers, I think is just so fucking cool, is an esports team.
My niece does that too.
Yeah, so they joined it, and this first quarter, the two games that are being played are Smash Brothers and League of Legends. So they're doing the Smash Brothers part, and then and they got beat by King K. Rool. They were very upset on Thursday. They were so fucking bad. They're like, I fucking lost. It's King K. Rool, even though he was in the red, and we did the fucking thing. And it's like, all right, this is cool. But then they're also going to do like Mario Kart's one of the games that they do for the esports, and Splatoon 3. And like, they're just super excited. I think that's so fucking cool that their school is doing that. Like, I can't imagine. I would have been so all over that shit in high school. Like, I would have been super duper into it.
God, me too. I would have loved that.
It's really cool, man. Like, because you're right. Like, video games have become like they're just mainstream. You know, games are for
everyone. Yeah, everyone plays them.
Everybody plays games. Everybody plays games, whether it's on your phone, whether it's whatever. Like, everybody plays games. I think that's kind of why we've seen this dramatic rise in backlash, and like, because it happened in the comic book community to a point too, of like, fuck you for trying to come in and like Iron Man now. Don't come in here and tell me that comic books are cool when I used to get fucking swirlies and shit. Don't be that guy. You know, that's not, this is my thing. Don't fucking come take my thing. So I get it kind of from that standpoint too, but yeah, I don't know, that Pokemon thing, man. I'll tell you what, which I say just so that Evan, when he edits things in his head, goes, I tell you what, I think Marvel Snap has maybe got like a month left before it starts falling by the wayside for a lot of content creators and people. I could be way off on this, but the Pokemon Pocket game that basically buy packs and open Pokemon cards and play Pokemon on your phone in 3 to 4 minute matches like Snap, comes out globally next month. And that's probably the end of most other card games, I would imagine.
Huh. That completely flew past me.
They
That's
haven't
kind of
done
a bummer,
a
but
huge...
you also don't seem to have been all that happy with Snap lately, so...
Man, I'm really just kind of playing because I have been at this point. Like, they just haven't done much to iterate on the game. There hasn't been like a ton of new content, and I got to tell you, the Marvel Snap community, so they introduced leagues and guilds and that sort of thing a couple weeks or a couple months ago, and the group that I'm in is actually super fun. Like, the people that are in the group are really cool, and everybody chats and, you know, talks, and everybody's super supportive of each other. And, you know, we have some people that grind a crazy amount to get the rewards for being in the group. Oh, excuse me. The gas is still there. You know, and like, it's been really cool, but it's also the 7th group that I've joined in the time that it's been out to try and like find one of cool people. And I only joined the group because the group is named after fucking Evil Dead reference. It's Ash Housewares. And I was like, yep, these are my people. I'm in. So, you know, but it's just been the community for the most part is really fucking toxic. Like, it's a really shitty community online. Of just every single time a card goes to the top of the meta of like, this is what we're playing, lots of people are playing this thing, just the fucking whining and crying, the bitching around Marvel Snap is some of the most absurd shit I've ever seen. It's fucking baffling. It really is. And so much of the discourse is negative. And the monetization behind it, while I don't participate in most of it, is pretty fucking gross. Things are just wildly out of proportion, cost to value ratio, in my opinion. But I also don't go online bitching about it because I just don't participate in it at that point. You know what I mean?
I do.
They're still making a ton of fucking money, you know, and there's still some stuff that's been fun. You know, some of the new cards that they release are fun and whatever, and they just buffed Galactus, which makes me fun because, like, beating people with Galaxis, who the fuck is Galaxis?
I'm sorry, I'm still chuckling at the concept of buffing Galactus. Like, Does that dude need a buff? Or is Silver Surfer just out there literally buffing his armor and making him shiny?
He is. That's what I meant, yes. No, Galactus was one of the cards that people just fucking complained about. Like, there was just so much online discourse of how toxic this card is and it's bad for the game and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, you just fucking suck at it. Galactus is the most telegraphed play in Marvel Snap, because Galactus, what he does when you play his card, if Galactus is the only card at the location and you are winning that location, he destroys the other 2 locations. Okay? He is a turn 6 card. So for the most part, the earliest you get to play him is like turn 4, because there are some cards that allow you to play any card on turn 4. Realistically, you're playing Galactus on turn 5 or 6. That's usually when it happens. And if you don't see your opponent setting up a Galactus board by turn 4, then you should lose that game. Like, and that is okay. That happens in Hearthstone, it happens in Pokemon, it happens in Magic, it happens in literally every fucking trading card game. If you don't recognize what your opponent's playing, you're going to lose. That's how games work, right? When they're competitive, that's how that works. Okay.
I do like the genuine notion that Galactus is easy to see coming, because, well...
Oh my god! He is! Somebody puts down a turn 3 goblin and then a turn 5 fucking hobgoblin. They're negative cards. So you play green goblin and he's a 3 power -3 card that goes to your opponent's side. Okay, well, I'm setting you up for something. You know what I mean? And then on turn 5, I play hobgoblin, who is a 5 cost -8 power card. And I put him in a location and I have no other cards there. And now you have 3 or 4 cards, and I've got no cards there. You've got Galactus was originally he was like a 6-7, so you had to beat your opponent by 1 with 7 points. Then they took him to like a 6-5, and now he's back up to like a 6-8 or something like that, and people are just fucking furious. And it's like, but if I snap and you snap, and it's 8 cubes on the line, and you're going to lose that round. Like, you're just gonna. It's okay. I get beat by Galactus too, and I know what I'm doing. It happens. But then just this fucking toxic discourse is crazy around this game. And it sucks because it's superhero characters.
Yeah, and where have you ever seen toxic behavior around superhero properties?
Well, sure, fair point. And one of the other problems that the game runs into is that all of the most recognizable heroes, like when I say Marvel Comics, a couple of characters pop into your head, right? The Avengers, Spider-Man, the X-Men, right? For a lot of people, it's the movie versions of those characters. So, you know, a smaller, like kind of more specific thing. But
some people, those popular.
For me, it's fucking Sleepwalker, and then NFL Super Pro, because there's something wrong with me apart from the cancer. I also really liked that cartoon show that was fucking Wayne Gretzky and Bo Jackson and Michael Jordan. Do you remember that?
What the hell was that called?
I don't even remember. It's like Super Pros? Was that it?
Oh, maybe. I don't know.
No, because it's NFL Super Pro. I just said that. That's why I was thinking about it. No. It was something like that. Anyway, but like those characters that you think of when you think Marvel Comics, when you think about comic books, you know, for the not crazy fan of it, like, oh, a new card game. I want to play with Spider-Man. I want to play with whoever. Those cards all suck because they're Series 1 and 2 cards, you know, because you got to give them to players early so that the person starting your game can play with Spider-Man, can play with Captain America. And those cards are garbage. Like, nobody uses them, like, once you get to a certain level. So now you've got decks that are built around Arnim Zola and fucking, like, just these wild-ass cards. You know, this next month, Agent Venom is the feature card, and there's, like, Toxin and Scorn and Misery and Agony, like, all of the weird symbiote spin-offs. And they are way better cards than Captain America. way better than Spider-Man, you know? So it's in a weird place. And now with Pokemon coming out, guys better figure some shit out.
Pretty big property.
And what's interesting about Pokemon, right, is that they have decades of established gameplay. Like, it's going to be a little bit different, obviously, because it's a mobile version, but they have so many things to draw from, whereas Marvel Snap in October is going to be celebrating their 2-year anniversary. That's not even a fucking drop in the bucket compared to the experience and depth that Pokemon has. Like, I'm kind of excited for it. I'm gonna play it and see what it's all about. I fucking love card games. It's one of my... I'm realizing this about myself as I get older, but I really fucking like card games.
Well,
except Slay the Spire. Couldn't get into it. I tried.
Well, before we move on from Marvel, have you been watching Agatha all along?
The first 2 episodes were just fucking awesome.
Yeah,
just great.
Hard to agree.
Did not watch the third episode.
Oh, okay.
Not yet.
Then I won't say anything.
Very, very excited about it, though. Like, just Catherine Hahn is a fucking treasure.
Is a fucking treasure. She's great.
This
show is great so far. I'm just over the moon for it. I'm loving it.
But also, like, this is a very... I apologize. In my mind, what I just am about to bring up feels like a very Northeast, New York, North Jersey kind of thing to talk about. But can you imagine a world, Kris, where you're in the Marvel show and you're the lead and there's a musical number, okay? And you're going to be the lead in the musical number, the big Witches Road song. And you're going to sing the lead over Patty fucking LuPone.
Yeah.
Like, that's the pressure you have on you currently. Patty LuPone, we're going to see her like 3 times in the course of this 2.5-minute song that you, Catherine Hahn, who is not known, not that she's a bad singer, but is not known as a singer, over Patty fucking LuPone. And I say Patty fucking LuPone because if you know anything about Patty LuPone, you pronounce her name Patty fucking LuPone. That feels like a very like Northeastern thing to talk about, but my God. And she nailed it.
Yep.
Just fucking crushed it. I was so impressed. So happy.
Now also, look, I very much enjoyed The Acolyte. The show had its problems.
I did too.
I very much enjoyed that show. But the Witches song, this is how you do that. The power of one, the power of many. That wasn't great. That probably should have been, if your lyrics are going to be that 4th grader, then you should probably put it in a different language so it sounds more, meaningful, because that just felt silly to me. This, on the other hand, this was Witches singing a song, because
it was great.
Part of which that's wonderful. And it's a wonderful show.
Aubrey Plaza.
About it.
I
hate
Aubrey
questions.
Plaza. I hate Aubrey Plaza so much because she's so awesome. She's
too great.
I want to punch her in the face. She's so good. Stop it.
I have
fucking
many
stop.
questions as to who she is. I have many questions.
So, can I say it's not a spoiler because I don't know if it's true. My first impression on seeing her in episode 1 and episode 2, because of a couple of lines of dialogue, because of a thing that happened early on in WandaVision, my thought was that she's playing Blackheart, the big, creepy, long tail, spiky head demon thing. That was my
Marvel
thought.
Versus Capcom.
I forgot. He's in Marvel vs. Capcom. That's what I was thinking. I don't have good evidence for it other than, like, in WandaVision, there's a date and the heart that is drawn on there is black. Now, the episode also happens to be black and white, but it is, in fact, a black heart, right? And they did enough things with color where that could have popped out. Also, she says something in the first episode to Catherine Hahn about her heart being black. And I went, whoa, like I did the Leo pointing meme, you know?
Well, also, I think it was in the second episode when they were talking about the list that she made and said it wasn't a name, it was a black heart. Was the last person. But then she didn't go get her. But I don't want to, I can't talk about episode 3 yet. There have been things have moved. The plot has advanced. All right. I cannot discuss with you.
That's fair. That's where I am. That's what I thought. That was like my first initial thought. And I don't care if I'm right or I'm wrong. Like, I don't read the spoilers. I don't want to know them. You know what I mean? Like, I just, like, oh, it could maybe be that. And wouldn't that be a weird, cool thing? And if it's not that, that's fine too. Because they're better at this than I am.
I hope that she is Blackheart, and then she pulls out a Marvel vs. Capcom combo. Like,
yes. I hope for some reason Cable and fucking Mega Man show up, and they just do this like a weird thing on the screen.
Jazz Fusion starts playing in the background.
What is happening? This is the best show I've ever seen. Yes, you have indeed taken me for a ride, good sirs and or madams.
Marvel is back.
We are so back, baby. We're eating good, as the kids say. It's fucking Sigma or whatever is the fucking best one right now, I think. I think it's Sigma. I don't know. My kids get really mad when I use it.
Kids.
Goodness. Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, all right.
Good stuff.
Well, have you been playing any fancy new video games? Because I have, and I have things to talk about, but, we'll get there.
Nothing more that, like I said, this was just a very frustrating fucking week. I didn't have a ton of time to play games because I didn't feel good. I was so distracted and in my own head about the not feeling better, about putting the expectation on myself that I should not be putting on myself in this recovery, right? Like, I should be going through this with literally no expectations because I have no idea what the fuck to expect from chemo, obviously, having not gone through it before. But putting those expectations on myself and then falling short of those expectations kind of fucked with me mentally a little bit. I thought I'd be better at cancer than I am. It's a weird thing to say, but I'm just being honest.
I thought I'd be better at cancer.
But I did. I get it.
It's just, I'm just pointing out the inherent silliness of that statement.
No,
because
sure.
You are aware of it. You are aware that is a silly sentence
I am
to say.
well aware of how fucking ridiculous that is. However, it does not change the fact that I thought I'd be better at it. And I'm trying to come to terms with, and that there's a whole lot to unpack behind that statement. That is like childhood and dad and all of that stuff that this is the first time, where I have felt in my 43 years going through the things that I have gone through, where I can see a future where the people directly in my life, the podcast, the avenues that I have to express these things may not be enough. And I may talk to someone in a professional setting, right? This is the first time I've ever even felt like what I have currently might not be enough. Not to the disparagement of anyone. You know what I mean?
I'm not a therapist.
Exactly. You know, like, you're not a therapist. Neither is Tiff. Neither are people that I've known my entire life. Like, and it's not fair to put that expectation on people. Not that I have, but when you vent to them, I feel that sometimes, and again, this could be my own shit, but I feel that sometimes people put that expectation on themselves to try and be the most helpful. I know that people do that. I do have a degree in psychology. I know that people do that. You know, and I don't want to continue to put people in that position. So this is a very long way to say that I did not play a lot of games this week other than what I had been playing. But I just kind of feel like I might be at that point where not today, I'm not there quite yet, but I can see in a couple weeks, in a month, where talking to somebody else might be beneficial. Because it is, the weird thing about this is that with all of the love and support and messages and people checking up on me every single day and all of the things that are happening, it is still, in my experience with it, an incredibly frustrating and isolating disease to have, because it's happening to me currently. And even though other people have gone through it and have similar stories, it is not the same. You get a cold, everybody gets a cold. You know what I mean? I can empathize and sympathize with you because I know exactly what that feels like. And with cancer, it's very isolating to me. Which is, you know, it's just kind of weird.
Yeah, I mean, that's why they have cancer support groups where you talk to other cancer survivors, because people who aren't cancer survivors, there's only so much I can relate to what you're talking about. I've known people who have had cancer, but I've not been through it myself, and that's one of those things that you really just, you can't fully identify with until you've done it. And for the record, I need therapy. I'm all if I could.
No, sure, we all probably do.
If I could afford to have, I've been looking into therapy for some time now, because I freaking need some. Because as much as I love talking to you and the other people I talk to in my life, they're not therapists. It's a different thing to talk to a friend than it is to talk to a therapist. And of course, a therapist will tell you talking to your friends is extremely important. Talking to your friends and family is extraordinarily important. But mental health is one of those things
it's different.
That you have to take seriously. Exactly. It's like, you know,
it's just
getting
different.
First aid. I skinned my knee while I was out, and I'm getting first aid from a friend is different from going to see a doctor. You know, it's the same thing with mental health. It's just a different animal. And
the school nurse is not the triage nurse.
Exactamundo.
They do a similar job, but it's different. Yeah. And believe me, I don't feel any shame or judgment or anything. Like I said, I have a degree in psychology. You know what I mean? Like I've studied this. I've helped people with it. You know, people have been sent to me to. It's not what I do for a living, but it is part of what I do. So like I'm very much supportive of anybody who needs somebody to talk to and all of those things. I've just never felt the need for it yet. You know, when my dad committed suicide, I was 13 years old. My parents asked me if I wanted to do it. You know, my mom was like, do you think you want to go talk to somebody about it? And I was like, nah, I think I'll be all right. And I think for the most part, I've been all right. You know, I mean, I realized, I say all right. All right, Jace. I didn't realize a lot of shit that was because I was 13. How the fuck could I know? I didn't realize a lot of the shit that was happening until I got older, you know, and I was like, oh, I was really angry and I was fucking a bully for a long time, like, understandably so for some of the things, like, and, you know, so, like, I probably that decision should not have been left up to a 13-year-old, but whatever. I've just never felt the push to go over the hump and make the phone call or the appointment, you know, and I can see a future where that is certainly possible. And I recommend everybody do it. If you feel the need to talk to somebody, talk to me. I'll try to help you. But if that's not what you need, then please try to, you know, talk to people, because the world is a fucking nightmare. That being said, I wanted, this week I focused on the first DLC for Vampire Survivors, the snowy one with the big fucking dragon. I can't remember the name of it right now.
I can't remember the name.
It was really fun. That was really fun. Some more, I went through some more games on UFO 50. The way that fucking thing, man, it's so fucking cool. Like the way that it is being presented of these games for this lost system. And as you're playing through the games, like you're playing through the progression of the system itself, and some of the games are just not at all for me, which is obvious in a collection of 50 games. But I haven't come across one yet where I've been like, this is stupid, and they had 48 games, and they got they threw these two on here because UFO 50 was the thing they were doing. You know, like that has not happened. I went back to one of the games, Bushido Ball. That occupied quite a bit of my time this week. It's like a weird tennis, but you're samurai. It's fucking cool. It's been a good week for samurai, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a minute.
We will, indeed.
Or 30 minutes probably with the way this is going so far. So that's been really cool. Like UFO 50 has been really neat. I was gifted another game this week, Iconoclasts, which is a game that I've wanted to play for a long time. So thank you, Matt. I really appreciate that. I will get to that here at some point in the future. We played some more Still Wakes the Deep. We're almost finished with that game. And then was there anything else this week? More Bloodlines to try and get through to Arya.
Nice.
So, but, you know, like AEW had a big event on Wednesday and the Giants got just fuck Daniel Jones. God damn it. I hate that kid so much. I really do. 6 years, Chris. He's been the Giants quarterback for 6 years. And he sucks. He just sucks. He's another, like I was saying earlier, Daniel Jones looks the part. He says all the right things in the interview. He is a good kid. He's like in his fucking 30s now. He's never going to get in trouble.
He's a kid to you.
He is a kid to me. Yeah, that was when Tiff and I were watching the game last night. Tiff had a realization because she likes the Giants rookie Malik Neighbors because he's really fun. He's really good. He got a concussion last night, which is really shitty. Tiff had the realization last night that, like, from this point forward, professional sport rookies are young enough to be our children. Malik Neighbors is 21 years old. It is entirely possible for me and Tiff to have had a child when we were 23. And that would not be weird. It'd be a little early, I think, but not weird.
A little early, but not like, oh, God.
Not 16, you know, like scandalous, not disparaging teenage parents. There's a whole lot of circumstances that go into that, but it wouldn't be looked down upon on society for you being in your early 20s and your parents to be in their 40s. That would not be weird. And that kind of hit Tiff a little hard last night as we were watching it. She was like, fuck. It's like, yeah. But just Daniel Jones ruined my Thursday. Because they lost to the Cowboys. Fucking.
You never want that to happen.
No.
America's
Dak Prescott,
team.
the quarterback for the Cowboys, Dak Prescott has beaten the Giants like the last 12 times in a row. Or 13 times, or 7. It feels like 100 times. It's just. They scored no touchdowns. Nothing but field goals. And then I heard the commentator on the game last night, Chris, Daniel Jones, here was his stat line for last night. I don't care how many yards he rushed for. It wasn't very many. He had 281 passing yards, no touchdowns, and an interception. And at the end of the game, Kirk Herbstreit, who's a fucking douchebag, I like Al Michaels. The Amazon team is kind of weird. But Kirk Herbstreit, the other commentator on the Amazon team, said Daniel Jones played well. No, he didn't. He threw for less than 300 yards, and he threw an interception. That's it. That's not playing. That's playing well. That's the standard we've lowered. You know what's playing well? 350 yards and 3 touchdowns. That you go to then go say, quarterback had a good game today. You know, 281 yards and a pick. He played well. He didn't. As a point of fact. As a point of fact, the Giants scored 15 points because they kicked that many field goals. They kicked 5 field goals because they couldn't get the ball in the end zone because Daniel Jones, and I can't stress this enough, did not play well.
The Steelers had a good game last week.
They did.
Yeah, I don't football like I do hockey and baseball, but I do enjoy watching it, and I like watching it. I like how much Karen enjoys it, and I think football's a very fun game to watch now. She was actually unable to watch the game, which was a bummer because it was a really good game.
Yeah. Football is magical. It really is. It's not my favorite. Baseball is obviously my favorite. The Yankees clinched the division. I'm very, very excited about that. We'll talk about playoff baseball next week. But football's magical because there's so few games. You know? It's every game is a fucking event. And when, for the last literal decade, the Giants have been an embarrassment. I don't know what game they are playing, but it is not football. Because, here's the thing, Chris. Last night's game, right? It's 20-15. And the Cowboys have a kicker who has not missed a field goal in his entire career. Now, his career started the year before, but it's still an impressive stat to say. It was like 18 straight kicks or whatever. This kicker had not missed a field goal of 50 yards or more in his career. And last night, the Cowboys were driving down the field. The Giants fucked up earlier. They couldn't get in the end zone. Giants are driving down the field, and the defense makes a stop. And the kicker has to make a field goal. And you can see where this is going, Chris. The kicker has to make a field goal of more than 50 yards. And at that point in the game, it's 20-15. And if he scores, right, if he kicks it, now the Cowboys are up by 8. The Giants will have 30 seconds to go about 70 yards and get a touchdown, which they have failed to do to this point in the game for the first fucking 3 quarters and 14 minutes and 30 seconds of the game. They have failed to do at this point, and get a 2-point conversion to tie it to send it to overtime, which seems, if we're being fair, unlikely. So they set up for the kick, and he misses the kick wide right. His first miss, Chris. So now the Giants have the ball on their own 49-yard line. They have 30 seconds. They have 0 timeouts. They have 30 seconds, and they have to go 51 yards. They have to score a touchdown, and they win. Because they don't even need the extra point. It would be 6 points. They would win 21-20. And if Daniel Jones wasn't a wet fucking blanket, they would have. It was the most embarrassing final 30 seconds of a football game I think I've ever seen in my entire life. He threw one ball, completely missed his receiver. Threw the next ball, it was a decent pass, but Malik Neighbors had to do an absurd catch to try and Malik Neighbors already had a concussion by that point. He missed another guy. A dude dropped it on the third pass. So they took 4 seconds off the clock. They missed 3 passes, and then he noodle armed the ball towards the end zone, and it was intercepted. And it was yes, that is how that fucking game ends. 100% that's how that game ends. 100%. There's no 30-second, we're doing the drive, and we're going to hit the sidelines, and we're going to have this amazing comeback, and everybody's going to erupt in the stadium, and aren't you so glad you stayed up so late to watch this fucking game because you got to go to work tomorrow? No, that doesn't happen with Daniel Jones as a quarterback. He fucking shits the bed. He shits the bed like a toddler in a fucking diaper. It's just everywhere. It's on the sheets. He smeared it on the fucking walls. The dog came in, ate part of it, then the dog shit in the room too. God fucking damn it. Of course this is what happened. And just a short time ago, Chris, when I was but a younger man, not all that young, but a slightly younger man, Eli Manning in that situation, Giants win that game 10 out of 10 times. Without question. Because Eli Manning is not a fucking cunt. But no, then Daniel Jones comes out and they interview him after the game and he's, yep, that's on me. I got to make those throws. Do you? Do you, Daniel? Are you sure you do? Is that your job? It's the right answer. I don't know what else I would expect you to say in that moment. You're not going to come out and be like, yeah, I'm fucking terrible. I don't know why they're paying me $40 million. But he's making $40 million a fucking year to suck. I can go throw a 3-yard pass nowhere near my receiver, Chris. So could you. So could one of my dogs. They don't play football professionally. 6 fucking years of this. 6 years of people going, I don't know, is Daniel Jones the guy? If you don't know after year 2, good newsflash, he's fucking not. Sorry. Oh my God. Hated it. It just we're watching the game. And it happens, I just look at Tiff and I go, yep, that'll happen. And I went and showered.
Oh, damn. Fuck them. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was my week.
Sports are fun.
The whole time I'm laying on the couch burping and farting like a fucking Homer Simpson parody. It's just horrendous. Ugh. Anyway, sorry. Yankees better not lose to the Astros. That's all I'm saying. I might take a couple edibles and then come down and we'll just do a sports-based show for a week.
Well, I'm over here still coughing. I still can't stop coughing, but it seems like only during this podcast.
Try edibles,
like,
Chris.
Generally speaking,
you gotta start smoking weed.
I really do. Apparently, my COVID cough
you've tried
seems to have
everything
largely
else.
gone away. I haven't really tried much of anything, honestly. Tried let nature take its course.
That might also be part of the problem. I have this broken leg. Did you go to a doctor? Nah, no. We'll see. Off. It'll be fine. I put an ACE bandage around it.
It says ACE on it. Doesn't get much better than that.
No. It's so good.
That shit's science right there.
This is a double ACE bandage. Pair of aces? I don't play poker, except it's Belatro. Anyway, tell me about Zelda. Or is that not the only thing you've played?
I've played a couple of other things. I want to mention that I played more. I spent more time with Euphoria 2. Which is really quite a delightful game. It's structured a bit differently than the first Euphoria. It's got kind of like a hub world, and then you explore around it, and then you keep coming back to the hub world. But it's very charming. The visual style, the like arts and craftsy visual style they went with, matches this game a bit more than I thought it would. It's really a very a rather clever and super weird and charming game. And I was kind of stuck on it for a minute because I couldn't figure out what I was doing wrong. I couldn't figure out how to advance, and then I just realized you're supposed to these vending machines all over the place that have things that you're supposed to buy in them that give you the abilities to get farther in the game, like to travel to see more areas, which makes perfect sense when I say it out loud. But I just kept being like, I don't need anything from these vending machines. Yeah, they just have like healing items. I don't need these. I don't need the things in the vending machines. They just have healing items, and they don't just have healing items. They have all kinds of power ups. They're basically like, these are the abilities that let you get to other areas in the game, and I was just ignoring it because I'm a doofus. So I finally got that under control and started making some real progress in it. And it's been a while since I've played the first Euphoria, and I know they re-released it on Switch as Hebereki Enjoy Edition. And I was a little nervous about that one because it looked very similar to the Gimmick Special Edition that was released, which I wasn't super fond of. But it went on sale for like a couple of dollars. I think it went on sale for like $3 or $4. It's like, well, that's worth it for me. I'm gonna take the dive. Let's see how Hebereki Enjoy Edition works on the Switch. And it plays great. It's just a little odd because it's not translated. So Euphoria is the NES or European release, because it never came out in North America originally, of a Famicom game called Hebereki. And when they localized it, they changed the characters. So like obviously they changed the name to Euphoria, but they also changed all the character designs, which is super bizarre. Like the main character was this like goofy little penguin looking thing, who's a super cute design. Hebi, I think is how you pronounce his name. And when they changed it to the North American release, they changed him to like this kind of looks like a snowman called Bop Louie. And one of the other characters, the other two characters, like one of them looks like kind of like a frog, one of them looks like a ghost with sunglasses. They didn't change much, but the other character was like a little girl in like cat pajamas. And for some reason they turned her into a dinosaur in the newer release, which is or the localization version, which is super freaking weird. So I'm playing, Habareki Enjoy Edition is Habareki, except it's not quite translated. It has the translations for all of the speech, but whenever word bubbles show up on the screen, a little thing flashes and it says, press this and you can read what this says in a separate menu. Like, okay, well, why didn't you just put the text on the screen? Like, why are you making me go into a separate... You've got the text and you have an alert system. Why not just make that alert?
I can't read this shit.
like that's why you're alerting me. If I want to go read the English version, open up this menu and read it. Like, okay, then why not just show me? Like, you don't have to change the game code. You can still have the Japanese text on the screen.
Sure.
Just where this alert is on the side, put the English text instead of alerting me to open up a separate menu to see the English text. You fucking weirdos. But all in all, it looks nice. It plays nice.
Very weird choice.
Yeah, the whole thing is weird choices, but it
want to read this in English? Here's a QR code. Scan it with your phone, and then come back.
Like, stop that! Why are you doing it this way? Stop being weird. So, I enjoyed that. I'm looking forward to. I'm glad that I have that game on the Switch because I really like the original game, and I'm really enjoying Euphoria too. And I'm going to get back to it.
That's awesome.
I did that during the interview last week. They talked about the Gimmick 2 update, and that came out. And
yes, it did. Yeah.
So what they meant by helping us find secrets is a pretty interesting little thing. Have you messed around with it at all yet?
No, I haven't spent any time with it this week.
All right, so you know that big, goofy looking cat thing that waves a flag around that you teleport between? So the way it works is...
I don't know what his name is. Hey, Carl.
The way it works is, if his flag is pink, that means that there are secrets hidden between him and the next one. If the flag is white, that means you found all the secrets in that area. So it's not overtly showing you where things are, but it is kind of giving you a hint. And that went a long way for me.
I like that.
I've now 100%ed the first and second levels.
Nice.
And there was a couple, the second one in particular, there were a couple of super tricky things where I'd look at it and say, I have no idea how I could possibly do this. And I'd throw the star around a bunch of times, be like, can I ride? Maybe I can. And then I'd eventually be like, oh my God, I think I can do that. And I'd just hammer away until eventually I'd get it figured out. And I'd get there. And it's fun. Wonderful game. Again,
it really is a wonderful game.
I am going to 100% that game, no question. I will absolutely spend the time and 100% complete that game because I want to see the real ending, and it's so fun to track down these secrets. But I'm going to take my time. I think I've played through enough, I think, to write my review. Especially now that I'm past this update. I'm glad that came out before I wrote my review because that's definitely going to change the way I feel about a couple of things. But and speaking of games I'm reviewing, I finished Yars Uprising. Nice. Yeah, it was. We talked. Did we talk about that already? Yeah, with Pyong.
No, not finishing it. But are you happy with the finish? Are you happy you spent the time?
I am happy I spent the time. It is a solid game. Without a doubt, it is a solid game. I'm glad I spent the time with it. So I didn't tell you about the last boss?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so.
I was talking to somebody about this.
I don't remember shit, Chris. It's very possible.
Yeah, I think I beat it within this last week.
I finished Power Blade 2 earlier today, and it's fading as we're sitting.
So the boss of the evil corporate, spoilers for anybody who is planning on playing this game. This is such a stupid gag. This is such an immensely stupid gag, and I'm angry at myself for not figuring it out earlier. The whole time, all sorts of stuff throughout this game are overt references to Atari history.
Sure.
So the boss of Kotek, the evil overlord corporate guy,
right?
His name is Philip Ong, and I'm like, okay, that is a very specific name. I don't understand what it means. So I get to the last boss. I get to the time to face off against Philip Ong. And what do? a game of Pong shows up. A game of Pong shows up. And my name, E. Kimimura, and then his name, P-Ong. And
P-Ong.
Like, son of a bitch.
You motherfucker.
I'm so mad at you, but it's such a bad joke. Can't not
love it.
Oh, I can't not love it.
No, that's good.
You fucking bastard. P-Ong. How dare you? Fucking clowns. I was so mad. So mad.
Clowns.
So mad. I did get confirmation on something.
That's outstanding.
I reached out to them on Twitter. They were having an AMA and I missed it, so I reached out to them on Twitter because I had a biting question that I really needed to find an answer to. And so you know the artwork, right? It's Emmy, and then there's this like Yar creature behind her with her hands on her shoulders.
Yeah.
I beat the game. That character never showed up.
No shit.
So I'm like,
that's cool. It's like the scene in the trailer that's never in the movie.
That's never in the movie. So I reached out. I was like, because I had this thought. I mentioned it on the show that you fought one of the boss characters, and it was like it was the Black Widow character, and she was like, I used to be like you, and then I got all these cool powers, and I thought it was all cool, but now I'm this hideous monster. I was like, oh shit, are they gonna like play on this? Am I gonna turn into that Yar looking version of myself and lose my humanity? That could be cool. But then it didn't happen.
No.
So I reached out to Way Forward on Twitter, and I was like, no. Who is this character? Like, she's on the cover. Is this supposed to be like who? I thought I was going to turn into her, and they were like, no, it's just supposed to represent kind of what she might be turning into. Let me see if I can find the actual their actual response, because I was actually kind of upset by that. It's like, it says, it's symbolic more than anything. You'll notice that she becomes more and more visible on the subscreen as Emmy gains more powers. Which, okay, that's neat, but
I don't like that.
I don't know.
That's not good enough for me.
No, not for something that's on the cover art. Like,
yeah, no, that doesn't work. Doesn't work for me, dog.
The cover is literally Emmy and this other interesting character design that's just not in the game.
And this other seemingly important character.
Yeah, who's not another character at all. It's just your character, but not. And so I was, because the reason I asked was like, because you beat the game, then you unlock a hardcore mode. And I was like, do I have to beat hardcore mode? Like, is there more content hidden behind that? And they're like, no, this is what it is. It's just symbolic.
No, we're just fucking with you.
That's kind of obnoxious, but all in all, it's a decent game,
guys.
It's not a great game. It's not a bad game. It was a fun game to play through. I never felt bored by it. It also, you never quite get to that, that Metroid moment where you're just like, I am now God. I am. Yeah. You get the screw attack, and it's just like, I'm unstoppable now. That never really happened over now. In this game. That super powerful moment just never happened. I never got to the point where I really felt like, okay, now I'm super powerful and this is super awesome and let's go fuck shit up. That never really happened for me. So it's good. It's solid.
Huh. All right.
I also got those Pix and Love books, and I posted about them.
I have a guess of what your rating is for that, but I'll keep it to myself. You can tell me off the air.
Yeah, I haven't officially decided on it yet, but I think I know where I'm going with it. But yes, I got the Pix and Love publishing there. I don't think it's Pix and Love anymore, but they had these History of Nintendo books that I loved years ago, and they're like, stay tuned for Volume 3, and then they never translated it to English and have been sad ever since. And now they've officially released them in North America, and they're not the same size. They're slightly bigger.
That's on purpose, and I think it's fucked up. Like, honestly, truly, like, you posted that picture, and I would have thrown all 3 books away and possibly a couple of the others on the shelf, just be like, no, it's just not a thing I do anymore. I don't collect these any longer.
I mean, it's just it's 4 volumes. That's the whole thing. That's all there is. It's 4 books. So 2 of them look this way, 2 of them look. They got all the words, the letters, they got everything right, except the books are just slightly taller.
So fucked up.
It's so fucked up.
It's so fucked up. Is it
so angry? It's fine.
It's my favorite line in fucking Shawshank, by the way.
I haven't watched that in so long. That's such a good movie.
It's a good movie. That's the guy movie, by the way. It's like every guy likes Shawshank Redemption.
It's genuinely one of the best movies ever made. Like, bar none.
Yeah, it really is.
That's just straight up fact. But anyway, I got Zelda. Zelda Echoes
before
of
you
Wisdom.
get in, sorry, one thing before you get into Zelda, because I remembered it as you were talking. We did play and go down a little bit of a rabbit hole for one other thing, and I don't remember how it started, but eventually we ended on the topic of Michael Jackson's Moonwalker, and me and the kids spent a not insignificant amount of time this week discussing, watching, and playing Michael Jackson's Moonwalker, which is not available on Steam, by the way. It was very upsetting. I had to go through. I was going to go buy it. So I was like, I got money. Yeah. It's weird. It's fucking weird. It's weird.
Yeah, Moonwalker is super weird.
He just turns into a spaceship and fucking murders everyone. He just obliterates a large amount of people and then flies away. And these little urchins are left just being like, thanks, Michael. I don't know how we get fucking home now. You left our... It's very weird. Still holds up. Great movie. Joe Pesci. 10 out of 10. Anyway, let's just... Yeah. My kids have this tendency to ask questions at times. And there are certain things where it'll pop up on YouTube or TikTok and they'll go, what is that? And I was like, come around the learning tree, children. Sit down, put down your phones and the iPads, and allow me to spin you a tale of a time gone by where Michael Jackson, nobody said no to him for anything ever. And Moonwalker. And then it went to Alien Ant Farm and the video and the cover, and it's actually better. They do the lean. Anyway, Zelda.
Yeah, so I can't say that I have been super hyped for Echoes of Wisdom, and this has been my own fault, largely.
Sure.
Because I have intentionally been avoiding any information
everything
on the games.
about it.
Like,
yeah,
I just haven't felt compelled to watch trailers or anything. Just, I'm good.
They've already got you. Like,
yeah, they've already
why
got
ruin
me.
any
I
of it?
Pre-ordered it. It's yeah. Why ruin anything? And like, I just wasn't super feeling it. I thought it was a great concept, but the longer I sat with it, the more I didn't like that it's using the same artwork as Link's Awakening, because there was a specific reason that game looked that way. You know, like the whole dream aspect of it. That game looked that way for a reason. So, is this tied?
I didn't love it on first look. I'll be honest. I think we mentioned that when we talked about it. At first, I just didn't love the way it looked. Not that it looks bad. I just wanted something different.
So my question was: is this somehow tied to Link's Awakening, like similar to A Link Between Worlds? Is this take place? Is this the same Link and Zelda? And I can confirm that it is not. It is
okay. Good.
It's, at least thus far, it is not in any way tied to Link's Awakening, which makes its art direction bother me way more. Because now it's just well, then why does this game look this way? It's the same character models. Why does this look this way if it's not the same world? These aren't the same characters.
And to be fair, you haven't finished it. But
it's true. To be fair, I haven't finished it, but from everything I've seen, it is not the same world. Like, Link and Zelda do not know each other. And, so at least
and
at
you
that
kind of
point,
want Zelda to have her own aesthetic thing, right? Like, I feel she's deserving of that, certainly, as a character and franchise.
She wasn't in Link's Awakening, so this is all new, a new look for her in general. And let me get this out of the way. It's fucking great. Like, this game is really good. It is scratching the classic Zelda itch. Like, this is as in I recommend it to you. This is a new
Link
Zelda,
to the past.
This is a new Zelda-ass Zelda game, and it is super interesting. I am having so much fun. I have completed 2 legitimate Zelda-style dungeons. Like, none of that. Believe me,
that's what I want to hear.
I love Breath of the Wild. I love Tears of the Kingdom. But when I went to dungeons, it does work pretty differently because there isn't like, this is the item that this dungeon works with.
Right.
It's more like, you have now discovered these monsters that you can use as items, and that's how you're going. And this is how you're going to solve these puzzles.
Yeah, that's the same thing. I'm good with that.
But it's like, it's almost similar to like, I don't want to say Zelda 1.
Same thing sounded a little negative. I don't mean it that way.
Yeah, I don't want to say like Zelda 1, because there wasn't a lot of like real puzzles in Zelda 1, but it's like, all right, here's the tools, and now you can look at this stage and say like, okay, I'm supposed to use these new tools to solve these puzzles. Or I could figure something else out. And you can, like, you have that sort of like Tears of the Kingdom way of just, you can really play with shit in this game and do some wacky stuff that's very, very fun. I've definitely finished rooms where I felt super clever and been like, I don't know if that's how they wanted me to solve this, but it's how I did solve it, and that was awesome. But
it's what I did, and I feel fucking good about myself, so kiss my ass.
To get the negative stuff out of the way first, the art direction bothers me for a couple of reasons. One, because it's not tied to Link's Awakening in any way, shape, or form, as far as I can tell. 2, because this game deserves so much better. It's running in the Link's Awakening engine, which was already not great, right? Like, I love the graphic style in Link's Awakening. I think it looks wonderful, except it was pretty unstable. It's the same engine, so it's still really unstable. There's all these
still pretty unstable
frame drops all over the place, and it doesn't kill me, right? It's not pulling me out of it terribly or anything like that. It's just like, you're going along. But it still
shouldn't happen.
This system runs Tears of the Kingdom. This should not be a problem. There's nothing about this that should be a fucking problem. There's just something wrong with this game engine. And I cannot believe that they moved forward with this brilliant game running on this broken-ass engine. It is mind-boggling to me. That, because when I cannot stress enough, this game is brilliant. It is utterly brilliant. And I'm gobsmacked by the whole look of it and it being as choppy as it is, because there's no excuse for it. There shouldn't be any reason for this. It's
how
insane.
old is that remake at this point?
I don't know, like 2, maybe 3 years.
Enough time to have fixed the engine.
I think it's intrinsically broken. I think there's just something. I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's like, I remember Digital Foundry did a whole thing on it. Like, well, let's overclock the shit out of the Switch. That didn't fix anything. Why didn't that fix anything? That means weird. That there's something like coding broken with it. They should not have done another game in this engine. They should have.
Right.
I don't know. I wonder. I'm sure they're not going to pay to start something from scratch this late into the Switch's life. But on the same token,
no, sure.
This game is brilliant, and it shouldn't run this poorly. And again, it doesn't run
I wonder if
poorly.
you shmemulate it through a shmemulator, through perhaps a shmeem-shmek.
Well, that's what I've come to understand.
I wonder if it would run better.
That's what I've come to understand. I think that's what the Digital Foundry thing was pointing out, that it's like, that doesn't solve the problem. It's the game itself is broken. It's not like it's not like the system can't handle what the game's telling it. It's that the engine itself can't handle it. So even if you're running this without actually fixing whatever's actually broken inside of it, you're not going to get a better performance out of the game, which is fucking weird. One of the reasons I bring it up is one of the cool things I've found on the Steam Deck is that one of the plugins that you can load, because it is just a computer ultimately, so there are plugins and shit for it, there is a group where you can add reviews to how games play, and there are community settings of like, all right, here is everything you need to change, every box you need to tick, and where you need to set this and that and whatever to get this game to run
at this level of performance with no frame drops and whatever. And I just wonder if there is some sort of community workaround at this point. Certainly not for this new Zelda game, but for the remake,
right?
Potentially. Just curious, like not that it's all that important. Just curious.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought. I don't know. I couldn't tell you for sure. All I know is what I've said so far is that it seemed that my understanding there is just something intrinsically broken about this game's engine. The other problem I have is its user interface is garbage.
Aww.
It seems like it's working off of the general idea of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, as far as like, you open up this sub menu with the D-pad, and that's how you switch between the different echoes that you're choosing from. But like once you get like 50 or 60 echoes, you're scrolling through tons and tons of shit. That's
a lot of shit to look through, and that's annoying. I wind up going to the pause menu because it's just as fast as the little on-screen sub menu thing, because the pause menu is instantaneous. And so at least I can see, like, they're automatically arranged by type, and you can see more of them at a time, because like you're switching shit constantly, because you don't have a melee attack. You're just running around as Zelda, and like, well, if I'm going to attack something, I need to I need to have something else do it for me. Unless, because you also get the ability to transform into like Ghost Link and swing a sword, but that's on a very strict time limit. Right? You have to fill this meter, and you can stay as Link for as long as this meter is full, which runs out pretty quickly. And that's also really cool. That's a whole ass thing. Where was I? All right, so those are the things that I don't like. The user interface is kind of garbage. Outside of that, this game is utter genius. It is so... I was kind of afraid when I first saw it looking the way that it did, that we were looking at a like an Oracle's situation, where it's like, okay, the Oracle games are what they are. I've never been able to get into them because they are so derivative of Link's Awakening. Like, art assets, the music, everything. This one is surprisingly not derivative of the Link's Awakening remake. Like, yes, there are a lot of reused assets, but so far there's no reused music, which is wonderful. The music has been glorious. It's the same style, like a little chamber orchestra, kind of, toy flutes and stuff on top of lots of chamber strings. It's wonderful. And it's all new stuff. I was really expecting I was going to go into a cave and hear that cave music, but it's totally original. So, hooray! And fascinating. The map is 8 times as large as the Link's Awakening map. So, huzzah! I've seen almost none of it. It's great. The dungeons have been super clever. Like, the dungeons themselves haven't been super clever so far. I've only done 2. But the puzzles in the dungeons have been just exactly what I've been missing. Because like when I say the dungeons themselves aren't clever, it's like, okay, this looks like a dungeon. Like, it's not like this dungeon has weird eyeballs all over the place or something like that. It's like, this one's the desert dungeon. Okay, whatever. But so all the different creatures you're running into, every single enemy that you can get will grant you some sort of interesting new ability. And it's because they're not all just about attacking. Like, I got this one mole thing, and whenever you like copy it to your ability to recreate them with the tri-rod thingy, you have the opportunity to read about it. You can either just take it and move on with your life, but always read about it, because there's always some sort of interesting little tidbit of information in there that'll tell you a little bit more about what you can do with these things. Like this little mole guy I got. He digs holes, and then like he's kind of like an Ocarina of Time style Octorok, or like a Deku scrub, where like you get close to him and he goes in his hole and you can't attack him. You get far away and he comes out and he chucks rocks at you. So what else you can do is, if you plant this guy on sand or dirt, he digs this hole that you can then jump into. And if there's something underneath you, then you will go into a hidden area underneath wherever you have placed this hole. So like this mole almost doubles as a shovel, sort of.
because it's not like you're digging up treasures in the ground, but like there was this room in the dungeon that had a treasure chest in it. I could see it, right? Because I'm on the other side. It's a 2D Zelda game, so you can see the next room. I'm like, okay, but there's no entrance to it, but I can see sand coming in from the ceiling. But I'm already at the top floor of this dungeon. What the hell am I supposed to do? And so what I did was I was looking at the map, and I thought, well, what if I can get to it from outside? So I look at the map and I try to correlate like where this room is, and then line up where it is in the outer world, like outside of the dungeon. And so I travel to that point, and there's this one little square of sand on top of this little like tile area. And I was like, okay, so I throw my mole on there, jump on the floor, and then I fall through into the dungeon, and I'm back in the dungeon, and I got the treasure chest. Like, yes,
nice,
Zelda. This is so great.
Yes, I am Zelda-ing all over this fucking place. I just looked it up while you were talking too. And this is like where one of the advantages of the Steam Deck is. Somebody was asking the same thing you just said. When I'm just standing there in this game, it's 60 frames per second. It's running great. And I start moving around and the frame drop is pretty jarring. And tons of responses of like, that's just the game. Like the engine is broken. It was that way, before, and they just they didn't fix the engine. They just whatever. So everybody's response to that is then, so what I did was I just locked this game at 30 frames per second, and voila, no more frame drops. Because that's the thing you can do on the Steam Deck. So you just,
cool.
Lower the cap. Kind of neat. Like a pseudo performance mode versus graphics mode kind of thing Xbox and PlayStation do that hopefully, I would imagine, man, that would probably be a thing that would be in the Switch too, right? Because it's just like such a commonplace. Let me play it the way I want to. Either I'll deal with some frame drops here and there for it to look better, or I want it to lock in at 30 and whatever. So,
I don't know. That smells like a very non-Nintendo thing to do. Nintendo doesn't really.
It's just a quality of life thing, like it's not. Yeah, I don't know.
No, I get it. But like, so many other things are that kind of thing. Where it's like, oh, this makes perfect sense. There's no way Nintendo will let you do that.
You should definitely put a D-pad in there instead of just buttons. It's weird.
No. This is what we're doing. This is what we're doing, which means this is what you're doing.
We took out the D-pad entirely. It's just a circle now. It's a circle pad like a fucking N-Gage. Deal with it. We fixed it.
Oh boy.
Anyway, that is such good news. That is it's
been wonderful.
Because Zelda, The Legend of Zelda is one of those franchises that does lend itself. And I think it's actually something that Nintendo has somewhat underutilized throughout the history of the franchise. But the characters themselves are so adaptable. You could do so many different, and I'm not saying go the Mario route where like Link and Zelda and fucking Ganon are like reffing boxing matches. That's not, like, I'm not saying do Zelda Kart, but I also kind of do Zelda Kart or just do more of it in Mario Kart. There's so many different, like, look at that fucking, Cadence of Hyrule.
Yeah.
Totally worked. The Dynasty Warriors shit.
Yeah, Hyrule
totally
Warriors
works.
Like
that game is so adaptable. That franchise has the potentiality for so many different things where you can do your big epic Breath of the Wild, but for those of us who want more traditional Legend of Zelda, small titles, the AA title, like more of that, please.
Yeah, that's 100% what this is. This is
That's great.
This is classic Zelda, but it's really incorporating a lot of the thing, like the experimentation of Tears of the Kingdom without it being as open sandboxy, you know what I mean? But it's not linear like some of the later Zelda games were starting to become, which is what made them jump into Breath of the Wild. It's not that linear either. You can still kind of choose, generally speaking, how you're going to tackle each chunk of the game.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I did think that the lack of unique items was going to be problematic as far as the dungeons were concerned, but it has absolutely not been the case so far. They've just been they just treat the new echoes that you get as the items, and they're just brutally clever. Just hitting you over the head when you do certain things, because it's not just the echoes that themselves. Like, okay, you can spawn this spider thing, and it's going to create a web that you can climb. And okay, so I'm just going to put those everywhere to get clearly this wants me to solve some sort of puzzle to get up here, but I'm just going to slap a spider there and climb up, and then it's fine. The traditional barriers in 2D Zelda games, like trees, and you're like, well, I guess you can't go over there. They're not barriers anymore, because super early in the game you get a freaking trampoline. So it's just like, okay, well, I see this piece of heart up there, and normally you'd think I'll get an item at some point that'll let me get that piece of heart. Well, wait a second. What if I just stack a bed and a trampoline, and boom, I got the piece of heart? Fantastic. But done. In addition to the echoes that you get, you also have this little tri-character that floats around, the little floaty blob thing. And what you can do is you can throw that character at enemies, or echoes of enemies that you've created, or any number of items, and like move them around. Like giant boulders and things like that. You throw this thing at it, and you will be able to like pull them or push them. But you can also hold down the R button, and I forget what the word they use for it. Basically, you make yourself intangible. Like, so instead of pulling them around, they will pull you around. So like, there was a thing I needed to get that was on top of a pillar, and I couldn't figure out how to like make myself jump up there. So I used this spider character that I had. I threw the spider at the wall, and then I like glommed onto the spider and made it so that I would follow the spider's movement. The spider climbed up the wall, and I like dragged me along with it, and then I let go, and I got the item on top of the pillar.
That's so cool.
It's so cool.
I love that.
The game is so good. It's the classic Zelda. It is the modernization of classic Zelda that I've wanted. And again, I adore Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. I think they're really, really awesome games. I think they're really awesome Zelda games too. They work on the different aspects of the Zelda series.
They're just different.
Yeah, exactly. And I still feel like they are Zelda games through and through. But this is just another thing that Zelda games are, but focusing on that more traditional style. And I think it does a lot of what A Link Between Worlds did, as far as like trying to modernize the 2D Zelda games. I think it's taking that a couple of steps farther and doing a better job with it. And I know
that's awesome. That's a big statement. That's a great game.
Between Worlds is great, but thus far, and again, I'm not super far into it, but so far, I think this one's definitely working it better, and I can't wait to see what's next, because Link is definitely a part of this, right? So Link and Zelda don't know each other.
Yeah, he's been in promo shots and what, like, that's not a spoiler.
Well, the whole thing, like that intro where like Link is out to save Zelda and fights Ganon, like that's the beginning of the game. You start the game playing as Link, then you fight Ganon, and then he shoots the arrow to save Zelda, assuming that he's saving Zelda because he knows Zelda, and like, that's the princess, I've got to save her. I don't know why he's there, because after, like, you don't know who he is. You go, like, you take control of Zelda, and like, you go pick up his cloak and be like, well, that was weird. Who was that guy? You go and learn who he is, because other people in Hyrule are like, oh, that's Link. He's from this village. He's a great swordsman, and he was fighting evil. And like, you just happened to be there. He wasn't. I think he was just out to fight Ganon, not to save you. Yeah. So you haven't even actually met him, but he keeps showing up because the rifts that are always like the purple thing that he falls into when he shoots the arrow to save you in the first place. Those rifts are everywhere, and that's what you're trying to get rid of. And that's the point of your little tri-character, is he's one of this little thing, like a group of them that are able to close these rifts. And rifts are just kind of this part of the way this world works, and they float around and close the rifts when they show up, but the rifts are getting out of control, and, you know, some sort of malevolent force is making this go, you know, everything go out of whack. So when a character gets sucked into the rift, apparently an evil version of that character can then show up in the real world, which, you know, when you start the game, your dad, the king, and his two advisors, his royal advisor and his military advisor, they all get sucked in, and then evil versions of them come out. And like they don't look like
so it's like that episode of Captain N that we watched?
Kind of, yeah, because they don't look tangibly different. Like when you first see them, you see their eyes are red, but like they can just look like everybody else. So
I might be out now. I like that episode, but not that much.
I've now had to fight Link twice, which is not as easy as you think, because he's Link and he just has a sword and he can just run at you and swing his sword and jump, and you're just like, well, shit, I don't have a sword. I have this stick that can conjure urchins. So like I was just throwing urchins at Link until he died. But I eventually awesome. I got myself a re-dead, which is great. So I can just throw re-deads at people and they can fuck up just about everything. Re-deads are great. You know, the super creepy like zombie things that scream real loud. They're super strong and they're slow as hell, but it doesn't matter because they can take a ton of damage. They can just fuck up most enemies. The second Link I had to fight 3 of them at once. And that's how I got the arrows now, which are neat. I don't know, the game's wonderful. It's totally a Zelda game. I got the big key. I'm using keys to open doors. I'm using the big key to open the boss door. The 2 bosses I fought so far have been super cool and not what I expected. Like, I got into this one room and I was like, these 2 hands show up for the first boss, and I'm like, oh, it's a head and hands boss, right? Because Zelda's got him, Mario's got him. Like, it's a Nintendo thing. It's Andross and Star Fox. Head and hands bosses are just a thing with Nintendo games. But it wasn't. It was a version of a Talus, actually, like the big rock monsters. It's like, oh, this is cool.
Oh, cool.
So hooray. And then the second boss was like this weird flying lion bear thing. It's like, okay, this is awesome. Great.
I'm into this.
I love it. Yeah.
That's awesome. I definitely want to check it out.
Yes. It is a Zelda game for Zelda fans. Highly, highly, highly recommend it.
Love it.
And with that, we're going to take ourselves our first break. When we come back, we're going to talk about what's going on in week-old news. You're listening to the Stone Age Gamer podcast from geekade.com. Stick around. And now here's a quick look at what's new from us and our partners at geekade.com.
First up, look, everyone loves a good Sky Trooper. I know I do. Sometimes a regular-ass Sky Trooper isn't enough. You sure as hell don't want a small Sky Trooper. No, in so many circumstances facing our nation's youths these days, what is a ute? The only answer is Big Sky Trooper. Thankfully, Greg and Joe are on the case to tell you all about the obscure LucasArts Not Quite Zombies Ate My Neighbor's spinoff Big Sky Trooper. Is it any good? Honestly, how could it be bad? It's a Big Sky Trooper. Find out in the SNES podcast episode 242, Big Sky Trooper. I almost switched back to NPR voice in the middle of that. I don't know why. I thought that would be a good idea. Then I immediately rethought it.
Next, in this month's episode of this week's episode, guess what happened? Nothing! That's right, we didn't record an episode this month. Scheduling conflicts hit us all again. We were supposed to record last night. Karen and I came down here in the basement. We're like, hey, we're ready to record. Guess what didn't happen? An episode.
That's right.
Profound sadness reigned supreme. I was denied the chance to talk to Evan and Angie and Karen about Northern Exposure. Will next month's planned recording pan out? Will this week's episode ever happen again? Find out next month.
I love that show.
I had never seen it before, and now I've watched the first episode. And now that the episode's been delayed, I'm probably going to try and watch a handful of more episodes because, I liked what I saw.
Yeah, I don't know how well the whole thing will hold up, but I do remember liking it. We've just finished Schitt's Creek. We never watched the last season.
Oh, lovely show.
Good show. What? Just joyful, just wonderful and sweet and kind and good shit. Anyway, finally, Kirstie Alley, John Travolta. I like him, but still also. You want to talk about it?
Not gonna lie, when I started writing this, I had a very different opening talking about that they may not be the best people in the world, but I thought better speaking ill of the dead.
art not the artist. John Travolta's dead? No, I'm just kidding.
We started the episode and I've been of the theater near you, and I said some weird shit about them, and they were like, "Oh, don't speak ill of the dead." I was like, "Who died?" Totally didn't realize Kris Alley was dead.
Oh yeah, she was a fucking monster. You walk around with that much hate in your heart, Kris. It takes you out early. Yeah. It does weird shit to your face. Look at Matt Gaetz. Anyway, you want to
look at him.
No, I don't want to. I have. That's why I told you to look at him. Did weird shit to his face. Fucking whatever that other one is, the fiance. She's fucking. Anyway, you want to talk about chemistry? Honestly, yeah. Kirstie Alley, John Travolta. It is really, really hard to beat those two. And when you add a talking baby with the voice of Bruce Willis on top, and don't meet your heroes on top, and bam, you've got yourself an instant comedy classic brought to you by Emeril Lagasse. Bam! Fucking spice it up. Throw it in there. That was him, right?
Yes, Emeril was the BAM guy.
Okay. It's not a cooking guy, so I know Gordon Ramsay's an asshole, and I didn't think it was Aaron Sanchez. So, did this 80s hit stand the test of time? And even if its comedy did its child safety laws? Learn all about it in a theater near you. Episode 44, Look Who's Talking.
The idea of a child's car seat in this movie made my jaw hit the fucking floor. It's like, oh man, that's not safe at all.
So I work in Philly, and I work in a pretty impoverished section of Philly, and I often think to myself at this point, like who doesn't put on a seatbelt? Who doesn't put their kid in a car seat? And then I left work the other day, and I was pulling out of the parking lot. And there was a family, and they were driving with kids, and there were 3 kids sitting in the back of the car, and on the lap of one of the kids was a 4th child who should have been in a fucking car seat. And I just thought to myself, how have we failed so hard as a society that this person who is in need of a car seat to protect the life of their, legit 1-year-old child, that there is no avenue due to their circumstances for them to be able to just go and not have it be a big production to get a car seat. I was so, heartbroken, because that's just some shit that, we would never think about, Of course kids in a fucking car seat. But I digress. Anyway, that's a whole other rant for a different thing. Evan, you can even cut that out. It fucking happened, and I was gobsmacked.
Well, for all this and more, be sure to check out it with the... Oh, that's not the right answer. For all this and more from us and our partners, be sure to keep your eyes on Geekade.com. All right, everybody, we're back. And it's time for us to take a quick look at what's new at Stone Age Gamer. And hey, guess what?
Nothing.
I was on vacation this week. I have no idea what happened at Stone Age Gamer.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I thought about looking into it before doing the show, and I was like, no, I'm on vacation. And I've already worked enough during my vacation, so fuck it. I'm not going to look into it. I'm going to go ahead.
Yeah, love that.
And
for
do
you.
This. Thank you. I'm actually going to write down... You mentioned a thing. I'm going to make a note to remind myself to do that. Check in with... What was that thing called again? The thing that was going to get deposited. We're just talking about it.
Oh, the Anchor. The Anchor benefit.
Check in with Anchor stuff. There. Now it is on my list of things to do. Boom.
Okay.
Done so.
Good.
So that means it's time for my favorite segment, your favorite segment, everyone's favorite segment. Strap yourselves in for Week Old News. Welcome to Week Old News, where we talk about all the news that was new a week ago. And first up, these are all over the map. I wanted to group a few things together, and then I just didn't. And fuck it, we're gonna do it raw. IGN reports Concord game director steps down at staff at Sony-owned Firewalk await their fate. This is unsurprising that the director of Concord stepped down from their position, and honestly, look, I am not for mass layoffs. I hate that stuff.
No, it's awful.
I think those are the people that should get to keep their jobs. I think everybody involved in the decision-making for Concord deserves to lose their jobs. The amount of
everybody
money
that
Sony
did the job
lost,
they were told to do.
Yeah, they tried to make Concord the best game it could be within the parameters they were given. Yeah, that is they did their job. They did what they were asked to do. They shouldn't lose their jobs. It's the people who made the decisions for Concord to look the way it did, to be what it was. Everybody who decided that this was a good idea, those are the people who should be paying the price for this. Because they lost Sony a lot of money with Concord. But unfortunately, we all know those aren't the people who are going to, like, the director stepping down, sure. Good on you, but you know none of the corporate higher-ups who made these decisions that focus tested the hell out of this, they're not gonna pay the price, and that's unfortunate.
No. They should. They should.
Before I get too angry, moving on, Pure Xbox reports, bizarrely, Minecraft is getting a native PS5 version, but not an Xbox Series X and S version. It runs in higher resolution on the Xbox One version, if you're running it on a Series S and X. But also, like, what the hell, man? Series X ain't doing great. PlayStation 5 is really steamrolling this generation. And again, I don't know how much Microsoft cares. They're fine. They're rolling in money.
Yeah, they're fine.
They're just fine.
They're definitely not hurt. It's not like, ooh, maybe this might be the end of it.
I was online and I saw some dumb fucking console warrior posting about the PS5 Pro. It's like, it's fucking over. Xbox is fucking done. PlayStation just buried them. The PlayStation 5 Pro is so fucking good. The Xbox is shit, and they're crying tears of blood. There's all you fucking losers who like your Xbox. You're all fucking stupid because the PlayStation 5 is the best, and the Pro just killed everything ever. Xbox sucks. PlayStation forever. And I'm like, you really think Microsoft gives a flying shit about this? Like, oh no,
have you
our
looked
system
at their PC sales?
Yeah, they're doing fine. I'm sure they would be thrilled if their Xbox Series X was moving more units. But I don't think it's really
they want more money.
At the end of the day, you know, like, it's over now. The PS5 Pro. The PS5 has outsold, as we reported last week, the Xbox Series X 3-1. It's been over for a while.
It has been. Yeah.
This console wars nonsense you're playing, it's dumb because this fight was over eons ago. Like, this was never a battle. The PlayStation's doing their thing, Microsoft's doing their thing, Nintendo's doing their thing. Like, it was the Destiny.
Nintendo off in the corner eating glue. What are you doing, Nintendo? Stop it! Put that down.
Hooray for socks! What's this guy who works for IGN?
Have you ever seen red and yellow socks together? Fucking awesome! Red and yellow,
time.
Chris. Blue, I
he used to be on
Switch's case, but anyway.
He used to be on Screw Attack back in the old days before I realized Stutter and Craig was a pile of nonsense. Destin Legary, he works at IGN now, and he's a big Xbox fan. And the Sony fanboys are just dragging him as hard as they can because he bought a PS5 Pro. Like, this guy's a fucking phony. Even he knows the PlayStation's better. He's a liar. It's like,
nope.
It's entirely possible to prefer one thing, but still like the other thing.
That's right.
It's entirely possible.
I love anal. But sorry.
Go on. I was going to say tacos and pizza, but like, sure.
But I mean, missionary gets it done.
I'm not kicking it out of bed.
No, that's where I'm doing it most of the time. That's not true. It's in the kitchen.
It's easier to clean up.
Real quick. It is. I already have a hose there. The spray nozzle on the sink. I'm a very generous but messy lover, Kris. Sorry.
Anyway,
that was too much. I apologize.
Console wars are bullshit, but it is weird that Microsoft isn't putting Minecraft that they own natively on their current generation. That's just a little odd.
It's strange.
But it just goes to show you where this current console generation's at.
It's a weird story. It's a weird generation.
It is.
What you got?
Nintendo Life reports Platinum Games gains the Wonderful 101 trademark from Nintendo. Now,
that's cool.
This is a little unsurprising because Nintendo, when asked if they could just put Wonderful 101 on everything, Nintendo was like, yeah, sure, go for it. Which is a very not Nintendo thing to do. They're usually so protective of their IP. But, they have a good relationship with Platinum, and so, yeah, this game's theirs. Platinum now fully owns Wonderful 101. They can do whatever the hell they want with it, and I think that's great.
It's a cool little game.
Yeah. And it was cool of Nintendo to this was clearly something that was important to that company, and they let them do their thing. That's cool. Hooray!
Yeah, that is cool.
I love it when good news seeps into these things.
Right? Every now and again, we get one or two, and it's like, oh, that was good news, Kris.
Speaking of good news, Go Nintendo reports Atari 50, the anniversary celebration, getting 2 DLC expansions, expanded physical release. We already knew that they were getting some of these things, but I guess I didn't realize that there was 2 different ones. And the physical edition's got some cool art cards and stuff in it. I don't think I'm buying the physical version again, especially because I don't know if they're done making expansions. So the first expansion is called The Wider World of Atari. I think this is the newer information. We didn't really know what these DLCs were. So the first one that just came out is The Wider World of Atari. It's got 19 new games, including Video Cube, a bunch of different versions of Berserk. It's got the arcade 5200, 2600, and the new 2600 voice-enhanced version of Berserk, which is super neat.
That's cool.
The arcade football game, like the X's and O's, yes.
Nice.
Freaking awesome.
That's really cool.
A couple of Sears exclusive games like Steeplechase. I'm super into this. And the second DLC pack, which is coming out in November, is going to be called The First Console War. So it's going to be focusing on Intellivision versus Atari 2600, since they own the Intellivision
That's also
brand
very
now.
neat.
I'm so excited.
I love that.
I'm busy playing Zelda right now, but once I have a little bit of time, I am definitely going to be diving into all the new interviews they have, because I freaking love Atari 50. I'm so happy more content's coming. I'm probably going to just get both the DLC packs in November and then play them back to back. Is probably what I'll do, because I don't think there's any other major releases hitting before the end of the year that I'm going to absolutely need to take my time during the end of the year. So the stuff that's all dropping now, like Bzzzt and the Atari 50 DLC, the Ninja Turtles DLC, I still haven't touched Plucky Squire. There's a bunch of stuff happening right now that I'm just holding off to until I'm done with Zelda, and then I'll start picking them off one by one. But I'm loving this Atari 50 thing. Keep that going.
Yeah, I just put it on the old Steam wish list, because right now I could get the anniversary celebration digital expanded, so it's got the Wider World of Atari and the First Console Wars as they release would be automatically download, plus the base game. But that's $50, and I like this collection. I'm interested in this collection. I am not $50 interested in this collection.
Yeah, I mean, I would say for you,
I'm not going to get $50 out of it. Am I going to get 30? Probably, and it's on Steam, so that means it'll probably get there at some point. You know what I mean? With the way sales go on here.
Oh yeah, for sure. I would be shocked and amazed if you couldn't eventually get this down to that price. And really, you're going to be playing through the timeline. I don't think you're going to go through and just spend a bunch of hours playing old Atari games over and over again.
No,
but playing them on the timeline.
There's a few that I would, but I mean, hours is a bit much. But there's a few that I would put hour into. just for nostalgia's sake and whatever.
But when you play through them through the timeline, so you're effectively playing the history of Atari, then even playing like 2 to 3 minutes of every single game on there becomes part of the overarching story, and that's what makes it so cool.
Yeah, and that's a $20 to $30 experience for me. I think somewhere in that range.
Because you basically you would look at it like, well, would I pay this much to own a movie? Because that's kind of really where what that feels like to me. Except I'm a nutcase, and I was happy to pay full price for it. But anyway, moving on. IGN reports it's Stellar Blade versus Stellar Blade as Louisiana company sues PlayStation and Shift Up over the name. Apparently, there's a company called Stellar Blade, except it's called Stellar Blade, not Stellar Blade, which works way better in type than in speech.
It does.
Stellar Blade as 2 different words is the name of the company, and
you see, ours is different because it goes dun 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 dun.
Thank you, Vanilla Ice.
Where the hell?
That was what an interview, right? Like, you're listening to like, man, wow, you're full of shit. You're so full of shit. Your eyes are brown. This is amazing.
You're a fucking moron. My goodness.
You are a thief and a fraud, sir.
A thief and a swindler. You lose. You get nothing.
So yeah, this Stellar Blade thing,
I just Trump rally in 20 years.
Anyway. I thought it was fucking funny because,
that is funny.
We accidentally stole Stone Age Gamer's name, and look at us
sure.
now. But this is this is Sony. There's no way this was an accident. They looked up who owned Stellar Blade before, and I think that's why it's all one word instead of 2 different words.
Yeah, exactly. Because it is 2 different words.
It is like I think this is.
It's 2 words.
I honestly think it's. You can't just own any combination of Stellar and Blade together. I think it's silly. I think they went far enough in making it a 1-word thing instead of a 2-word thing. I think they went far enough, and I think this lawsuit is silly.
Yeah, it is.
If anything, this is just bringing attention to your company that it wouldn't have gotten in the first place. This isn't like
which is fine.
Fucking Glee stole Jonathan Colton's cover of Baby Got Back. This isn't one of those types of situations.
No.
Anyway, moving on. This is interesting. I don't know how I feel about this one. Time Extension reports Double Dragon artist says Double Dragon Revive is, quote, cheap and shows no respect to the series.
I saw that. I don't get it.
Have you watched the trailer for Double Dragon Revive?
Yeah.
It looks pretty hollow. It looks like pretty generic modern game nonsense. Like, it doesn't have any of the character that Double Dragon does. So I get from an artistic point of view where he's coming from. However, this game is being developed by... Let me make sure I'm not crazy.
Arc System Works.
Arc System Works is publishing it. Ukes, the people behind the Fire Pro Wrestling series, are making this game. And
they are not like fly-by-night developers.
And when I think of combining something like a super fun wrestling game with a beat-em-up like Double Dragon, I start to get kind of excited about the gameplay possibilities. Like,
sure.
I understand where you're saying, like, I really think the artwork in this is not garish. It's just like, this just looks like generic nonsense. This looks like completely disposable garbage. But there could be a really good game underneath there. Ukes making a Double Dragon game on paper, I'll give that a try.
Yeah.
So, I'm kind of 2 minds.
It looks like, honestly, it looks like Street Fighter 6.
Oh, I think this looks way worse than Street Fighter 6.
Oh, no. Sure, it looks like, in actuality, it looks way worse than Street Fighter 6. But it looks like that kind of style, almost, to me. You know, like, it's a little bit more realistic. It's a little bit more modern. It's what video games kind of currently look like. Would I prefer it to have been done the way that Streets of Rage 4 was done? Obviously. But I have this weird issue, and maybe this is a me thing, Chris, but I have this weird issue with people either positively or negatively destroying or lauding with praise things they have not experienced themselves.
Yeah.
My children do this all the time. They come down and they're like, did you see this movie? It was fucking garbage. And I was like, I didn't see it, and neither did fucking you. You don't know that it was garbage. You heard some talking heads say that it was garbage. And they might be right. I might watch that movie and be like, this was absolute shit. But you have no fucking hill to stand on here. Don't do shit like that.
Yeah.
That's so not...
Like, I 100% agree with you. And if he was just commenting on the game's art, he has every right to do that, because I can see the art right here. I can see it in front of me. But I haven't played the game. The game might actually be super cool.
Super fucking fun.
His quotes are... He says, let's see. Ogata also involves Super Double Dragon designer Muneki in Ebinuma. According to Ebinuma, this game was made by a current generation of game designers who have never played or thoroughly played the arcade version of Double Dragon, he said. That's exactly what happened, and the result is a cheap, modern game that shows no respect for Double Dragon. Ebinuma adds that Double Dragon is a game with a strong punch and a unique, distinctive feel, but this game has none of that. I almost wish they hadn't named such a crappy game Double Dragon. Ogata replied to one of his followers on Twitter that, quote, if I get a chance to try it at a Tokyo Game Show, I want to throw the controller at it. Like, okay.
So, and all of that would be fine if you had just added the words, in my opinion, or I think. Because I think he's right. But I don't know.
Exactly. It could be a really fun game, and then it would be... It's a shame that this really fun game is trapped behind this shitty, generic, bullshit art direction. But
also, like...
Until you play it, you don't know.
I played that Final Fight one that they did. What's the, like, modern-looking Final Fight?
The one on PS2?
Yeah.
Streetwise?
Something like that, yeah.
I'm like, wow,
like,
so we're going all the way back PS2, Final Fight Streetwise?
But, like, I see what you were going for with that, and I didn't like it. It's not good. I feel that like you were saying the same things. That game sucks. But I've played it.
Exactly. I played it. I didn't play through it. I stopped playing it when I was like,
God, no.
This is not fun. This doesn't feel like Final Fight. I don't want to play this anymore. I'm out.
Yeah, like, it's just not a thing that I'm super interested in. But, and this Double Dragon game might be exactly the same thing. And in my opinion, I think it's going to be exactly the same thing. However, Arc System Works and Ukes aren't in the, like, they don't suck at what they're doing most of the time.
You know what does suck? Double Dragon 4, which had a lot of the original team involved in that, as far as I remember. Yeah. I could be wrong, but I do believe
it certainly
one of
looks
the original folks that made Double Dragon. I was kind of excited to play that. I thought it looked really cool, but it plays like shit. It's a garbage game. I hate that game. I'm so mad at that game still. So I'm hoping that this is the opposite direction. I'm hoping that this is the antithesis to Double Dragon 4, where it actually looks like crap, but actually plays really good. But anyway, moving right along, IGN reports Sonic Central Stream 2024. Everything announced. There was a Sonic Central stream. We got Sonic Rumble.
There was indeed.
It's a Battle Royale Sonic game. We got Sonic characters and stuff being added to Super Monkey Ball.
That's
a bunch more Sonic merch. Sonic coming to a Top Golf near you. I don't even know what that is.
Top Golf is where you go and pretend to golf.
Oh.
It's like a driving range, and they have, like, simulators and all types of stuff. It's not for us, Chris.
Clearly. There was a...
But maybe it is. Maybe if Sonic's there, that's awesome.
There's going to be a Sonic DC Comics crossover?
That's pretty cool.
Sonic's going to team up with, like, Batman and Superman, but okay. A bunch of Sonic Cross Shadow Generations info. It was a quick behind-the-scenes look on the Sonic 3 movie, and I think that was about it. So...
Oh, yeah. They're adding Keanu voiced Shadow
right.
to one of the games.
Generations, yeah.
Yeah.
That's neat.
That's cool. Yeah. I love it.
Good
my kids
Sonic
are so
fans.
excited for that movie. They're so fucking excited. And they just want more good Sonic stuff. So, let's do it.
Okay. All right, I'm going to try to stay calm for this one. Go Nintendo reports. Hatch Tales. Hatch Tales will hit Switch October 22nd, 2024. New trailer shared. I watched the new trailer. It still doesn't look very good. Okay, sure. October 22nd. I'll hold my breath. Yep. I think it might actually happen this time.
On the Television Amico? Is that when it's happening? It's an Amico Day 1 launch title?
According to their Kickstarter update, which I got, they said that it's all been approved by Nintendo. We're going to just create the product page, and they'll start sending out codes whenever they get them, and they hope to send out review codes before the game, like not review codes, Kickstarter backers codes before the game comes out, which means they definitely fucking won't.
Definitely are not going to, because that's not a thing you have to hope for. It's a button you have to click.
If anything, we're going to get the codes after the game comes out. I would be just thrilled if they gave all the Kickstarter backers like their codes to the game like 2 weeks after the game came out on the shop. That would just be the icing on the tombstone.
That seems like what's going to happen. That seems right. That feels right. You know, like that feels good.
I'm hoping with all my heart that I get a chance to review this game, because I want to give this a solid, unbiased shot, right? Because I like Chicken Wiggle. I don't think Chicken Wiggle's a great game, but I think it's a very fun game, and I really wanted to play it on my TV, which is why I backed this in the first fucking place. I want to give this a fair shot.
Can you be objective at this point?
I don't know. I would like to challenge myself to be so. I think that would be an interesting challenge for me to try to come up with an objective review for this game that has pissed me off so thoroughly ahead of its release. I can say that the trailers are not doing it for me. I still think Hatch running around with his angry eyes is just fucking stupid.
Yeah.
He's just walking around looking angry. He's this adorable bird who's less adorable than he was before, and now he's angry and he's got a hookshot. And it's like, it seems at odds with everything else in the game. But he's just angry all the time because he wanted him to be that the game would be too cute. People wouldn't buy it if it's too cute. No, my fucking brain. Anyway.
I'm excited, Syphil.
Oh, aren't we all? All right, this is going to take us some time, so let's just do it. PlayStation State of Play, IGN reports, September 2024, everything announced. We got a State of Play this week, and they announced some interesting stuff. We got, let's see, let's go through here. I think this is going to cover everything, because the title says everything announced, so I'm going to hope that they're not skipping things. I don't know what order these are in, so I'm just going to read it through the order in the article, and you can comment on things as we go. Ghost of Tsushima 2 announced as Ghost of Yotai. Yotai?
Yotai. I think Yotai. I'm almost positive that's... I looked it up and forgot what... I fucking looked it up. Yes. Game of the year. 100%. Day one purchase. Without question. I fucking loved Ghost of Tsushima so much. And
Dan, that there's a girl.
Yeah, I know. I said it as soon as she lifted her head up in the mask. I'm watching it with Katie, and I was like, oh shit, the next one's a girl. That was my reaction.
The internet's gonna hate this, and they do.
Oh, I know. Woke Tsushima is... Oh
my god, yeah. They hate this.
Some motherfucker... I saw some... Oh my god. I saw some just... Fuck. I am not a historical scholar on 1600s. I believe this is the Edo period of Japanese history. I could be right. I think it's just coming off the Sengoku period into the Edo period. I might have that mixed up or completely wrong. I'm not entirely sure, and I'm not going to look it up because I don't know if you know this about me, Chris. I'm not a master's level Japanese historical scholar. But I saw somebody trying to argue that this is everything that's wrong in video games, and the woke mind virus, and like just every grifter fucking talking point, because the voice actress who's playing the ghost of Yote, I forget her name. You might have.
She preemptively blocked people on Twitter.
Not only did she preemptively block people on Twitter, but I believe she is non-binary and just all the other things that they hate about her. And they thought it was so funny that she was playing a samurai who this person then went on to describe as basically the police of Japan. And went on like this whole thing about how samurai are the police, and they're the police of Japan, and in Japanese history they're the police. And it was like, you are just wrong. You're just wrong, and there's so much to explain why that's wrong, but at the end of that conversation, you still end up at what I just said. You're just wrong. You've gone on this, and people are like, fuck yeah, the police, and blah, this bitch wants to defund the police, and she's playing a cop, and isn't that just like the fucking left wing? Blah, 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 blah. Shut the fuck up. This game looks amazing. Ghost of Tsushima was amazing. Sucker Punch has not made a bad game. They haven't. This one is going to be fucking dope too.
It looks good. I just watched the trailer. It looks good.
It looks so fucking good. It looks like so good.
It looks like more of what the first game was, which was super cool looking stuff. I didn't play it, but
yeah,
it looks neat.
It was so fun, and there are definitely things that could be improved, and I hope that they improve them. Just like when I played the first Infamous, I was like, that's fucking dope. There's things they could improve, and then Infamous 2 came out and they improved them, because Sucker Punch doesn't fucking make bad games. It's set 400 years after Tsushima, so this is like not Jin Sakai, but maybe there will be pieces of it, and if there's not, that's okay too. Like, when Ghost of Tsushima came out and it was so well received and people like loved it, and Game of the Year, it's so fucking great, yay Sucker Punch, they were like, what's the sequel going to be about, was an immediate question. And even then, a couple years ago, Sucker Punch was like, we envision this as a franchise focusing on the idea of the ghost, not this ghost. And people seem to have forgotten that in the ensuing time. They're like, well, you gotta fucking switch it from the guy into a girl. Like,
well, that's what it is. If it's not that it's a different ghost, it's that it's a girl.
Yeah,
and she's not overtly sexualized.
Then don't fucking play it. Just change the channel. A saying popped up to me this week, Kris, and I love it, and I don't know where it comes from, and there's the potential that I will hate the source that this quote comes from, but I saw somebody say, it was maybe on a t-shirt or something, it said, mind your own biscuits and life will be gravy. And I just went, yeah, that's it. Just mind your own biscuits.
Tim Walls saw that in a diner.
Is that what it is?
That's what it is.
Because that's been everywhere. It's so good. It's
Tim
so
Walls
good.
Saw it in some diner or restaurant he was visiting. It was like, oh, that's great. I was like, yeah, that is great. I love it.
It's one of the best things I've ever heard. Like, I might get that tattooed on my fucking forehead. That's so fucking good. Just so people see it coming, because it's very bald right now. I suppose your forehead's bald all the time.
It should be. If it's not, then
very, very hairy
after you're done with the
forehead
cancer,
over
get
here.
that checked out.
Because that's not right. You should have that looked at.
You should really only have the one set of eyebrows. All right, let's keep moving along. Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered officially announced. Sure, why not?
It's $10. I actually hate it less because it's only $10.
Well, it's $10
like if you
have
already
the original one. Yeah.
Sure.
You're playing this for the first.
And if you don't have the original one, like, okay, this didn't need to happen, but like,
it's such a tremendous waste of resources.
It is.
This Because
I don't disagree at all.
This game is already gorgeous. You don't need to go back and redo this one already. Like, if this is some sort of training exercise, sure, but come on. Stop it.
Yeah, it's unnecessary. I love that it's only $10 though. I do appreciate that fact.
Yes, and they've jacked up the price of the original one on the shop, and everyone's all pissed off. It's like, they raised the price. Like, well, you've had forever to buy this game for $10.
You really have. And just go to GameStop and get it for $10. Shut up.
Yeah, they're not going to...
Go buy a fucking used copy off eBay.
They're not going to let a bunch of people buy the original version for $10 now and then upgrade it for $10 later. They're already doing a nice thing by letting you, if you have it already. Fuck off, everybody. Stop it. Let's see. Monster Hunter Wilds release date revealed. Astrobot's got DLC coming. Midnight Walk. Stop me if anything.
That looked really cool.
Does it?
That was the like the second thing that they showed. It has both third person and VR, but it's all like claymation. The aesthetic of it I thought looked really cool.
Yeah,
and I like the fact that there's like an optional VR mode. Because that's where Sony needs to be at with the VR currently. They don't have the killer app for it, so do some additional stuff. The one that came right after Midnight Walk, Hell Is Us, I thought that looked pretty cool too. In like a Stellar Blade, like this just looks kind of cool.
Yeah, okay. This looks actiony, looks pretty neato.
It looks,
not sure about the name.
It looks like a Sony game.
Yeah. Pal World hit PS5. Although apparently its release in Japan is postponed indefinitely while the lawsuit's going on, so that's neat.
Yeah, I mean, get your bag while you can.
Yeah.
I suppose.
Metro Awakening VR... Arcade Chronicles? Arcade. Okay.
Yeah.
Lunar Remastered Collection. That's neat.
Really cool. Those are great games.
I've never played Lunar before. It's always struck me as, like... kind of generic anime. Like the character designs have never really rubbed me the right way, but people speak so highly of these games. Maybe I'll have to give them a shot.
When I was working at GameStop, I was working with this kid Jason, which is his real. I'm not going to say his last name, but that is his real first name. And somebody traded in the Lunar games to the store, and they were not super expensive, but they were like, I want to say like $25 and like $18 or something like that. And Jason did not have the money for them. And he was like, I'm taking these home tonight. And I was like, all right, like I'll ring you up. And he was like, no, I don't have any money. But I am in as a point of fact, I am taking these two games home with me. I think he had Ark the Lad too. I think he took like 3. And he was like, and I will pay for them out of my, like, it'll be between you and me. And like, I'll just pay for him. And then I think he quit like 2 days later. And then I went and got him a job at GameStop. Like I went over and talked to the manager. And I was like, hey, he's a great guy. You should totally hire him. He was like, I'm fucking having these. And like, he was so strong in his conviction that those were his games, that they were brought to the store for him alone.
For him.
I was like, all right, dude, I respect it. I don't care at all. Yes, you could have asked. I just would have said yes. I don't fucking care. Oh no, the corporation lost $8. No.
Lunar is, by the way, also coming to Switch, and it has been announced there's physical editions hitting the PlayStation and Switch as well, which is great.
Yeah, that's great. It should be on Xbox too. It should be everywhere. It should be on Steam.
I'm not positive that it's not. I just can't remember if it is.
Yeah.
Let's see. Shredder's Revenge got some surprising new DLC. I didn't even know this was coming. There's some Venus de Milo.
Well, now you said that. Mona Lisa.
There it is. Jesus. Mona Lisa and Mondo Gecko.
Some have called you.
That's cool.
Did you get the last DLC, the Usagi Yojimbo one?
I did, yeah.
I have not.
I did that. I just played a bunch of it. I didn't do the new mode or whatever, but I did play through with some friends. Played through the single player, like the main campaign, like half of it or something with Usagi and Kurai. It was pretty fun.
Yeah.
Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver 1 and 2 remastered is officially announced. I'm super excited about this. I know one of our Discord members made a snarky comment about moving boxes, and like, well, whatever. I think this game's cool as hell, and I'm excited about it. Feel free to try and shit in my cereal all you like, but I think it's super cool that these games are finally being re-released in a way that modern audiences can play them. This is indeed also hitting Switch, and maybe other platforms as well. I'm not 100% sure. But I think the remaster looks great. I think it's neat that it's both Legacy of Kain 1 and 2. Because, look, yes, the game itself might not be the most amazing gameplay thing ever, but this is one of those instances where the game itself is so goddamn cool, it doesn't matter. At least not to me. Yeah. Like, I would agree with that.
It's such a cool story.
Yeah, exactly. It's a really cool story. The moves you do are really cool. And still, like, the animation of you, like, shifting between dimensions, phasing through walls is still some of the coolest shit I've ever seen. I think the remastered graphics look great. Obviously, there was the same idiots that are complaining about Ghost of Tsushima are complaining about that they made one of the statues less feminine. That's a thing.
Assholes. It can't be fucking real. I refuse to believe this shit is real at this point. Like, I know the Smash JT grifter shit that's on YouTube, and like he just got this big DMCA. There's a lot of good things happening to like take him down from Alyssa Mercante and whatever, because she also posted like the thing that was sent, but like the unedited version that he posted. So like I know there is some amount of like legitimacy to some of these comments, but I have to believe the rest are just bots. There can't be
it's also rage bait, because people can get paid for interactions on Twitter now. It's all rage bait.
It's just the wildest shit. I wanted to fuck that statue, Kris, and now I don't.
Now I don't. Look, this game looks cool as shit. I'm so excited to try and play. I've never played Soul Reaver 2, so I would very much like to play through Soul Reaver 1 again and see how well... See if I can make it through it, because I feel like a lot of games from this generation, the longer, like, 3D, third-person action games, I don't really stick with as much anymore, and this is one of those ones, like, I must have played the beginning of Soul Reaver at work so many times. Like, that opening cinematic...
It's a great opening.
Rips off his wings and everything, like, oh my god. Yeah. I was so blown away by that.
Has a really good opening too.
Blood Omen does, and I'm hoping that Blood Omen shows up at some point too, because I've never played through Blood Omen because I never tried it before Soul Reaver, right? And I played through a bunch of Soul Reaver, and I was like, I should try Blood Omen, and then I booted it up on PlayStation, and there's so much loading time, I couldn't get into it.
Yeah, because
it's not even just like it's between menus, it's between screens. Like, that game is just sitting and waiting and waiting. That game's obnoxious to play, and I couldn't get into it. Like, that game,
and it's really not a very straightforward game either.
It needs a proper remaster.
Yeah, it certainly does.
And this, by the way, this degree of remaster, this is all you need. You don't need to do more than this.
That's it.
Like,
that's it. Make it a little prettier.
Just make it a little prettier. You do not have to go full-on crazy remake for every game. Sometimes it's really cool when you do that. Sometimes, like, you can just kind of preserve the basics of what was already there and be just fine. Just clean up what's there. That's what's going on here, and it looks really cool.
It looks good.
Because the original game, much like Metroid Prime, the original game had such good art direction. You really don't need to do a lot to make it look really good.
I would argue they could have done a little bit more. I don't love that game the way that you love that game, but I do agree 100% with what you're saying.
Which one? Soul Reaver or Metroid?
Soul Reaver.
Oh. I mean, they could have done more, but I don't think they need to do more. Like, if you're going to make a new Soul Reaver, it better not look like this. But if you're going to put the original one on new platforms... Yeah, let me do this. Let me play it the way that I remember it looking instead of the way that it actually looked. You know what I mean? And that's what this is.
That's a really good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah. This is retaining what the original one was, but cleaning it up. And that's all you need to do for a remaster. A remake, totally different ball of wax. But this
different
game
words.
didn't look bad to begin with. This is Ubisoft, this is all you needed to do for Sands of Time. Okay?
It is.
You
it
did
really
not
is.
need
That
to
game
do
is
a full remake of Sands of Time. Just put Sands of Time cleaner on modern platforms. That's all you needed to do. Fucking whack jobs.
In breaking news here, Chris, it actually happened like an hour ago that it got reported. Nobody else cares about this from me, or than me, I think, that's listening to this podcast. I don't think we have any Knicks fans, but the Timberwolves are about to trade Karl Anthony Towns to the Knicks, and that is fucking awesome. It's basketball, which you don't watch, but you should, because the Knicks are a really great team and really fun. And fuck the Sixers.
That sounds exhausting.
I hate Joel Embiid. Oh my god, that guy! What a fucking twat. Go ahead.
All right, I'm gonna skip through some of this stuff because was there anything else state of play that was just like you really need to talk about? Because like I'm just scrolling through like Dynasty Warriors Origins, some PlayStation Plus games. I'm not seeing anything else here that's super newsworthy.
No, I don't. There's nothing that I remember sticking out, but
Ghost of Tsushima, The Legacy of Kain, and Lunar Collections. That's what stuck out to me. And that Midnight Walk game looks pretty neat too.
Yeah, that looks cool. Hell is Us. Ghost of Tsushima is the big.
Yeah,
thing. I just
solid state.
I think
play.
it was fine. I mean, if you're a Sony fan, like the fucking your 2025 is just ew. Like, come on, man! You're gonna drop Wolverine and fucking Ghost of Tsushima like in the same year? All right, cool, assholes.
Moving on, IGN reports. I've loved all these quotes that have been coming out. I can't remember if I put them all in one or not, but let's see. Shigeru Miyamoto on AI, quote, Nintendo would rather go in a different direction.
I love that.
Bless you so much. Love it. Because generative AI, or as I call it, high-speed plagiarism, is bullshit. I finally saw, during the course of this week, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but there was something that made use of AI that I was like, this is what AI should be doing. This kind of stuff. And it was some company who's working on a light gun that works on modern HD TVs, and it's using AI to like kind of make that work. That's
perfect.
Do that.
100%.
Use it to make lives better, not to replace art. I think the full quote is here. The full quote is, quote, there's a lot of talk about AI, for example. When that happens, everyone starts to go in the same direction, but that is where Nintendo would rather go in a different direction.
Yep.
There it is.
Which means the Switch 3 is already being developed by their Priority AI, which is going to have like a weird Mario tie-in.
Speaking
like
of
the A and the I in the word Mario will be really big, and it'll be like, oh, fuck. Now I have to like it.
Speaking of things I have to like.
Actually, it's a me.
Code Nintendo reports Nintendo Museum's extensive merch lineup includes Virtual Boy mugs, Wii Remote pillows, and much more. They've got
that's awesome.
Giant fucking pillows of almost every controller. Like 4-foot pillows. Like, this is basically a Wii Remote body pillow. I want the Virtual Boy mug. There's like a set of Virtual Boy merchandise. I'm so happy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, outstanding.
Yeah, this museum looks amazing. But what I thought was really cool was the actual impetus behind the museum. Apparently one of those other quotes that just came out from Miyamoto is that Yamauchi probably wouldn't have wanted a museum to exist. But the reason the museum exists was, according to Miyamoto, at least one of the reasons...
It's because fuck him. That's why.
So whenever they do new slates of employees, Miyamoto would give a give like a speech or a refresher course on the history of Nintendo. And that speech had apparently gotten to be like 3 hours long. So it's like, let's just build a museum so I don't have to keep giving these speeches. And every time we get new employees, they can experience Nintendo's history through the museum. And also we can make a bunch of money.
Yeah, that's great.
Genius.
Yeah, it works. That works.
Moving right along, Pure Xbox reports round up all the reveals from the Xbox Tokyo Game Show 2024 event. So let's see.
There was one I cared about.
This is just a straight up list, so I'm just going to read this. Stop me if you need to talk any more about anything. Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater gets a new cinematic trailer. Overwatch 2 is adding My Hero Academia crossover. World's Edge unveils first expansion for Age of Mythology. StarCraft Remastered. Brief look of Indiana Jones. Tanuki Pawn Summer's a cute BMX game coming to Xbox. Threads of Time, We Love Katamari, Reroll, and Wordle Reverie is available now on Game Pass. New FPS Fragpunk, whatever. Metaphor, Refantasio, Atelier Yumiya, Asurajang Rumble, Bleach Rebirth, Siundality Echo of Ada, Furry Friends, Suikoden and 102 Remasters coming to Xbox.
Furry Friends!
Finally, a word I can read. All You Need Is Help is a game that's happening. Slitterhead, turn-based RPG Starbites, fresh look of Dragon Quest III HD 2D, and Square Enix brings 2 Mana games to Game Pass today, as well as the Pixel remasters are available on Xbox.
It's about time that those are available. The only thing I cared about was the fucking Delta trailer. It looks great. It looks great. That game's for me.
Yep. It's aimed directly at you.
There's not much they could do to make me unexcited about a proper, remake, remaster of my favorite Metal Gear Solid game. So, yeah, I'm in. You've got my money already.
There you go.
And it looks awesome, I think. I don't think there's anything I've seen where I'm like, ooh, I'm a little concerned. Nope, I think it all looks great.
Yeah, it does look pretty solid. Konami, modern Konami will always make me nervous, but at the same token, it seems like they're doing seems like they're putting some effort into things these days, and I'm okay with that. Keeping this moving, Push Square, here comes 2 new challengers. Ken and Chun-Li join Fatal Fury City of the Wolves. There's a lot of Capcom SNK crossover stuff happening now. I don't have anything to say about that other than hooray.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Push Square. This is an interesting article, because I didn't realize this was the case. I mean, we mentioned this once before, but apparently this is not going super great. Push Square reports Japan sales charts. PS5 continues to tank in Japan following price increase. Astrobot's doing pretty okay,
that's not surprising. Yeah.
Yeah, so...
That's not surprising. You raise prices, you piss people off.
Yeah. And, considering all the hype around PlayStation right now, but, just to put things into perspective, and again, this is just Japan, hardware sales for PlayStation 5 were 7,186. The number one, so that was number 3, the number 1 seller was the Switch OLED model at 35,000.
Yeah, that's just crazy.
Yeah. And even the Switch Lite was 12,000. So, that's bananas.
You got beat by the Switch twice.
But hey, Astrobot came in third place. Granted, only moved another 6,000 copies, but still, that's... But you know what came in second place, moving another 7,811 units? Fucking Mario Kart 8.
Jesus fucking Christ. How are there people that don't have that game?
That's what I want to know. I mean, I guess it's the people that were buying new Switches. And really?
No,
of the 35,000 plus 12,000 people who bought new Switches, only 7,800 bought Mario Kart 8. What are you guys doing?
Yeah. Yeah, the rest of you should have that fucking game. It's amazing.
Oh, Jesus Christ. All right, so here we go. Kotaku reports 30th anniversary PS5 pre-orders sold out fast and in the most frustrating way possible. Because apparently Sony just does not want to avoid scalpers.
Yeah.
So, but that's just the anniversary edition, which they stupidly have decided we're only going to make 12,300 of them. That's it. We're going to make this limited number, and then everyone's going to fight over them, and fuck you, haha. Whereas the actual PS5 Pro, I believe, is still readily available. You can still pre-order the PS5 Pro, which goes to show that, yes, that does have an audience, but it's not the everyone audience. And
I'm interested to see how it does.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to sell gangbusters, but at that price, it doesn't have to. And I did get, one of our Discord people was actually told me why they were willing to pony up the money for it, and it still baffles me a little bit to care. I can't imagine caring enough about 60 frames per second in games to pay $700 for a game system. Like, that's just such a, for me in my life, $700 on a single thing. Like, that's got to be a refrigerator, like that's got to be. That's got to be in a car. Yeah, that needs to be something that is not like. That's a lot of fucking money, and
yeah.
In order to sell the PlayStation 5 Pro,
and it's important.
Yeah, you're targeting a very specific audience that needs to be two things. They need to care enough about having the most powerful PlayStation imaginable, and they need to have the spare money to be able to afford it. And I think that's a very small group of people. But again, at that price, it doesn't have to be a huge amount of people for Sony to turn a profit, I don't think. So,
and if you want your current PlayStation 5 to look like the anniversary edition, go on Etsy. It'll cost you about $40.
If I ever get a PlayStation 5, you better believe I will be getting the black the black faceplates or whatever you want to call them. That system looks so much better in black. God, I hate that white system. It's so ugly. This anniversary PlayStation. It works
so well in Astrobot, though.
But like, holy crap! Just make enough of them for people to buy.
But then that's not what it is. As you just said, like, it is a very specific set of people. This is a clout chasing item. That is what this is. This is establishing this as like an elite special. People are talking about it positively, negatively, whatever, because the hype was super positive around the announcement of the anniversary edition stuff. The backlash to the limited nature of it is not as strong as the hype was. So they did what they wanted to do.
I hate it.
Sony's very good at making money.
And people
historically.
Angry.
Yeah, but they still continue to be Sony.
They sure do.
Yeah, like, they also did the mini discs, and we went, what the fuck are you doing, Sony? But they're still like
the way of the future.
UMD, like, but Sony still has a cachet that is undeniable in electronics.
That is true.
Yeah. They make good shit.
All right, this is another one of those Miyamoto quotes that made me very happy. Nintendo Life reports, forget the console wars. Miyamoto says Nintendo has always followed its own path. I don't know if I would say always followed its own path.
No.
The GameCube was
inaccurate, but
the GameCube was kind of the last time they really, but they were trying to compete. The GameCube. The line says, see, it would be a waste to let it sleep in a warehouse. So the main purpose is to put in a place. Oh, this is talking about the museum. Where's the quote about the... Oh, well. Basically saying that they don't want to get caught in console war stuff, because that's dumb. However, I think the most important thing is to have people from 3 generations come to the museum, blah, 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 blah. Of course, we also do technology research. Until now, analysts and other places have said various things such as, why don't you do networks? And what about mobile? And why don't you use cutting-edge chips? But if you look at the exhibits calmly, you will see that we are doing it properly. However, I think that people can see that now is not the time to sell, and that Nintendo's history is that it commercializes its products when the most appropriate time to sell comes. By seeing that, people can trust Nintendo. I think it's a mid to long-term outlook in a sense that shareholders and IR can trust Nintendo and leave it to us. What a Nintendo-ass thing to say.
It's going to be such a different company when he's gone.
It is. But you know what? I think he's done a very good job of instilling his... because, these weren't just his thoughts.
I hope so.
This is this is ingrained in Nintendo's leadership through and through. They've been training Nintendo is a different company since Iwata died, but it's not, necessarily a worse off company. Their core values are still the same because their core values have always been what they are. But yeah, after he's gone, it's definitely going to be different, but I do think that he's done a great job of passing the torch to the next generation of people that are going to take his place, like your Koizumis and whatnot.
Yeah.
I believe you were the one that threw this into the Discord. California's new law will force storefronts to disclose that buyers don't actually own their digitally purchased media. That was a headline from IGN. And yeah,
I think that's important.
I think it's important too. I was in Best Buy picking up my copy of Zelda, and I have to say, I absolutely hated what I saw.
What a depressing place Best Buy is.
They're still, looks great with with most of the stuff they're selling, but their video game selection is so sad.
Yeah.
It's they're still set up to have physical games, but all the physical games for PlayStation and Xbox were actually in the same cabinet, and they were all lined up along the floor. It was 2 shelves, 2 up from the floor. And a bunch of other stuff on top. You could barely even see the physical games. And then over on the Nintendo Switch section, there's a big cabinet, so all the physical games are behind glass. It's a much smaller selection than they had before. But then they had a bunch of cards to sell the digital games, which Target has those too, but they look nice. These look terrible. They're Best Buy specific cards for the digital games, and it's a tiny picture of the game on a giant blank white card. I seriously thought these were supposed to be oh, this is the thing that goes behind the game when you're sold out of it. But no, they're supposed to be the cards that show this digital game is available to purchase here in the store, but they're designed so terribly, they're completely unattractive to pick up. Why is the artwork for the game super tiny and just a bunch of blank card stock around it? What are you doing? Anyway,
I also find that idea. I mean, sure, it is the way we're going. I find that concept so alien. I'm going to drive to a store to buy something I could buy from the storefront on the system I have at home.
Well, I think the notion is that you get them while you're at the store already. People aren't going to the store to buy a digital game. It's, I'm going to buy a controller. Oh, and while I'm here, I think I'll pick up this.
I just still would never do that. I
wouldn't either.
It's just a completely alien concept to me.
The only time I've done those is because you could buy them as a gift for somebody else. That's how you buy a digital game as a gift for somebody. But
because we spoke about it earlier, because on Steam, people can just go onto your wish list and buy it for you. That's how you buy a digital game for somebody. What the fuck is everybody else doing?
I want to buy it for a kid at a birthday party.
And put it in a card?
Exactly. I want to put it in something that he can pick up in his hand and say, I got this thing, and hooray. You know what I mean?
I rented you a game for a very long time.
Having it show up in a digital storefront that or your digital thing already. It's it's less of the, I can't wrap that up. You know what I mean? So that's something.
I still would have said no. I still would have been no, we're not dedicating any floor space to that. Fuck off. This is stupid.
And last but not least, I wanted to end on a fun note here. Time Extension reports the Rocky Horror Picture Show is being adapted into a retro-style platformer for Halloween. Have you seen this?
No, because I have a love of the Rocky Horror Picture Show that I don't talk about. And it is very near and dear to my heart. Tiff and I have plagued literally every year of their lives of is this the year that we either show them or better take them to Rocky Horror. And we haven't done it yet. And if this is bad, I'm going to be just so heartbroken, you know? Like, I want it to be so good. I fucking love Rocky Horror Picture Show so much.
Look, I do not love Rocky Horror Picture Show.
That is not a surprise at all.
I don't even like Rocky Horror Picture Show. I don't get it. I never have, and I never will. But this looks hilarious. This is from the
Have you
team
seen
that
it
did
live? Like, have
No.
you gone to watch it in a theater with people doing the shit?
No, because that seems entirely unattractive to me. That's one of the things I don't like.
Transcendent experience.
A group of friends of mine would always go and go see it, and it just sounds absolutely not interested in that in the least.
That is how I first saw it, and it just felt so Shakespearean, which is such a weird fucking thing to say about Rocky Horror Picture Show. But in that moment of the people doing the Rocky Horror Picture Show bit in the fucking theater with the audience interaction, it just felt so, you know, theater in the round kind of artsy fucking like hipster bullshit. I fucking loved every second of it. And
I do not begrudge anybody who does. It's just not my bag of tea.
It's not for everybody. Tim Curry cuts a striking figure in that movie that you're either on board with or you are just not on board with. Why don't you?
This game looks pretty wild. This is from the same team that did the Angry Video Game Nerd games, which were apparently pretty decent.
Were they?
Yeah, I've heard both of those Angry Video Game Nerd Adventures games were pretty fun. And they apparently also did like the game out of Manos: The Hands of Fate at some point. But this is another bonkers classic platformer, and it just looks ridiculous. I don't know. This makes me happy. I like stupid shit like this.
I mean, I really hated that Rugrats game, so I have feelings.
This does not seem like that kind of a project.
Okay.
This seems like the kind of thing that they know exactly what they're doing. I mean...
Okay.
This is...
I really hope so.
Again, I can't say for sure. The quote here from the article says...
game released.
The Rocky Horror Show is a unique experience that transcends traditional entertainment, and we wanted to bring that magic to gamers, whether they're already fans of the IP or discovering it for the first time. For those familiar with Rocky Horror, they'll get to relive it in a fresh, exciting way. For newcomers, it's an unforgettable introduction to a cult classic, delivered with a twist only a video game can provide. Beyond all that, it's simply a blast to play. At its core, it's a true platformer, and we've made sure that the gameplay is every bit as engaging as the musical itself. Yeah, lofty terms.
I want to be in. I do.
Well, Fed, you'll have to let me know. But that is going to wrap up Week Old News.
It's on Steam, so I'm getting it.
Yeah. I didn't think you'd
you
be able
fuckers
to
have bought me a Rocky Horror Picture Show game. Thank you.
All right, it's time for us to take another quick break, and when we come back, we're going to do the Alphabet Super Series. We're going to talk about Power Blade 2. We're going to throw boomerangs all over the place. You're listening to the Stone Age Gamer podcast from Geekade.com. Stick around.
Crazy amount of boomerangs. We are Safe at Home, the leading dog rescue in the heart of New Jersey. Are you searching for a loyal companion, a dog that will bring love and joy to your home? Look no further than Safe at Home. At Safe at Home, we believe in giving every dog a second chance. We rescue, rehabilitate, and find loving forever homes for dogs in need, right here in the Garden State. Our dogs are ready to make a lasting impact on your life. Each one has a unique story, a wagging tail, and an incredible capacity for love. When you adopt from Safe at Home, you're not just gaining a pet, you're becoming a part of our family. Our dedicated team ensures a seamless adoption process, providing ongoing support and guidance. With New Jersey's beautiful parks, beaches, and trails, you and your new furry friend will have endless opportunities for adventures and cherished memories. Safe at Home relies on the support of compassionate individuals like you. Your donations and volunteer work enable us to continue saving lives and finding forever homes for these amazing dogs. Join us in creating a safer, happier community for dogs in New Jersey. Together we can make a difference and give every dog the chance to feel safe at home. Visit our website or call us now to learn about how you can be a part of the Safe at Home mission. Safe at Home, because every dog deserves to be loved and protected. www.safeathomerescue.org.
Hey, I'm Ryan.
And I'm Andy. Neither of us are David Crane, but we are the hosts of David Crane's Amazing Movie Time.
That's our monthly Geekade Patreon exclusive podcast that covers movies that are cult classics, weird, or just sometimes laughably bad.
We ourselves have at least two of those qualities, so I guess it makes sense to hear what we think of those movies in retrospect.
You can hear all that and more by becoming a Geekade Patreon supporter.
And, as always, be kind, rewind.
Hi everyone, Kris here. Podcast listening is free, but podcast creation is not. That's why the Geekade Patreon exists. In an effort to help us pay the bills, we've got a Patreon page set up where you can gain access to our monthly podcast topic schedule, get early access to many of our shows, and more. If you'd like to help support Geekade and keep these shows running week after week, head over to the Geekade Patreon page, linked in the show notes of this very podcast. All right, everybody, we're back. It's time for the Alphabet Super Series. This was Dan's pick for the letter P, and he went with Power Blade 2, Electric Boogaloo. Now, we played the first Power Blade as part of Summer Series. Was that it? I know we talked about the first Power Blade on this show at some point, and I did not remember it enough, so I started by playing that one, and I played like 15 minutes of it. I was like, this is super familiar. I feel like I've talked about this on the show, and now I can't remember why. But there were things about the first game that I wish I had remembered before I put more time into the second game.
Okay.
So let's start with, why did you pick Power Blade 2? For the Nintendo Entertainment System.
For the Nintendo Entertainment System. Mostly because I really, really love the first Power Blade. I think it is a fucking great game. It's a stupid fucking game. Like, I'm gonna run around and throw this big metal boomerang and shit. It's gonna be awesome. And it indeed is awesome. It's one of those like underrated gem kind of titles. And I was like, but there is a Power Blade 2. And I don't remember when I picked it. I didn't remember if it was as good or not as the original Power Blade, and I just wanted an excuse to put that on people's radar, because if Power Blade is a hidden gem, its fucking sequel is a buried gem. Like, what's more hidden than hidden? A forgotten gem? Like, I don't know if gem is a fair descriptor, but it's just an unheralded release. How about that? So I thought, why not show a little love to Power Blade 2? The gritty reboot or redirection of the Power Blade franchise, because this game is not as good looking as Power Blade.
I don't think it's
muted. I feel
it's a bit more muted. I think. All right, so
it's a little slower. It's a little muted, and the music isn't as catchy. Like, it feels like they tried to be a little bit more serious, even with the intro and story that they have developed for this game.
Yes, but one thing that is indisputably better, in my opinion, is the running animation, because he no longer runs like a complete fucking goofball. The running animation in the first Power Blade is absurd.
Stupid.
It's just he's flopping his arms around like crazy. Which I don't remember if we talked about that the original Power Blade was a total reskin of a different game. The Japanese version is like super cartoony and not quite as good. So Power Blade was kind of like a reinvention of that exact game with a couple of new features added and more realistic, using that term very loosely, characters.
Yeah.
But his all right, here's what I wrote.
He looks like a fucking jackass.
Improved. And then the next thing I wrote was, I just killed a fucking dragon and got Newt armor.
I love it. It's so absurd. It's so...
the armor
It's so exactly a game that would happen at that time.
It totally is. I kind of wish this game was on Super Nintendo, though. Because I'm looking at this game... Right, so first off, I...
Call up Rumblemans.
Completely forgot the armor aspect of Power Blade. Completely forgot about it. So I'm playing through the game, and I went...
It's kind of like the whole thing.
Played a bunch of the first level, and I didn't finish it, and then after I got my game over, I was like, well, you can pick whatever stage you want, so I'm going to ride my little bike over, and I'm going to try level 3. And then I got to the fan blades, and I was like, okay, I think I see what I have to do. I got to jump on the fan blades while the air is pumping. But then the air stopped pumping, like, for a while.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, well, let me try jumping on there. And I instantly died. Like, well, what the fuck? So I got back there, and
they're
I
blades,
waited
Chris.
longer.
You've heard of the dangers of windmills.
I have.
Especially in your area.
It's indeed. Yes, they're killing everything. Lots of bird graveyards. But, like you've never seen before. Big, lots, We're seeing them in numbers we've never seen before. Unprecedented. Nah, sorry, that's too many syllables. I'm too tired for this shit. So I go back to the room, and I wait even longer, and then the fans start blowing again, so I jump, and I start floating, but I only go so far. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. I'm at a fucking loss here. Like, I can't go any further in this stage. I don't know what else to do. I'm fresh out of ideas. So I stopped playing and I turned on a YouTube video, and then like they paused the game and they like pressed left and right and they got to the different suits. I was like, you could put different suits on. I got the jetpack suit, and I wonder what the Newt suit does. Oh, son of a bitch. So then I go back. Son of a bitch.
Exactly what I needed.
Exactly what I needed. So I go back and I start playing through the game again, and like, it's so much more fun once I figured out what the hell I was doing. But man, this game requires the instruction manual, because if you don't read instructions,
it does.
You're just gonna get fucking lost. I hate instant death spikes. There's so many instant death spikes. This is a real problem with this game. It's an over reliance on auto scrolling and like things that, like, there's that one, I don't know if it was lava or orange acid or something that was going up and down. Like, you know what I mean? Like a lot of those kind of stages that involve waiting for a slow moving thing, either whether it be the camera or some sort of environmental thing to happen. There was a lot of that really killed this game's momentum a bunch.
I would agree.
All, I did really enjoy it. What was it?
I think it's a great fucking game, honestly.
Yeah.
It's not a 10 out of 10, but I think it's great.
The story's ridiculous. There were flying robot sharks that were pooping bombs out. I was collecting these pink squares. I didn't know what they did, but they seemed important. Let's see.
Well, because it kind of changes the way that your armor works in the second one, where you have that energy meter, and you have to recharge the battery when you're in the suits. And that's one of the power-ups that you pick up, whereas in the first game, the suit takes damage. And
right, it's just one suit in the first one.
Yeah.
And this one has more like a series of...
It's Mega Man.
Why is that one called the Patriot suit?
Yes, because you are saving...
floaty orbs around, and it's
sort of...
But like... The Patriot, like, okay, the rocket pack suit or the jetpack suit, whatever it's called. It's like, okay, now I got a jetpack. The Newt suit, it helps me be more agile. The wet suit, it's for swimming.
Swimsuit, whatever.
Patriot suit, it's got two balls that float around. What?
Yeah,
what is it? shield suit. Like, there, I just came up with one. Like,
there you go. Way better.
Patriot suit? Like, it's not red, white, and blue, or it's not shooting eagles out of it or something. Which would have been fucking cool.
That would have been fucking awesome.
I love that when you beat every level, he says, let's torch this place and escape or get out.
Yeah.
Torch this place and get away.
Get away.
What?
Thank you, Arnold.
Great.
Sort of.
Fucking
this weird
great.
Hybrid Dolph Lundgren, Arnold Schwarzenegger looking fucker. Yeah, I'm very happy with my choice. This game is, it's fucking awesome. It's not the best game I've ever played. It is a later in life Nintendo game that looks great. Like, it really does look very good. I prefer the look of the first one more because it's a little brighter.
Exactly, it is a bit brighter. This is why I said before, I think it would have been very interesting to see if this was put on Super Nintendo instead, because this game was definitely ambitious. Like, they had a lot of ambition on the table here, and I understand the want to stick with NES, but like, we've seen this bite other companies in the ass at this period of time too. Like, this is why nobody played Little Samson. This is why Gimmick and Euphoria didn't even get released in North America, because they were so late on this platform that was already so far past its prime. Now, you could, obviously these games are proof positive that you can or could still make really good games on this platform. But this one in particular, I think, when looking at its visual design, when looking what it was trying to do as far as like action set pieces that involve big visual effects, and just the changing between suits, having to deal with the pause menu and stuff, I feel like having this on 16-bit hardware with more buttons available, I think would have made this a much better game. Whereas, like, I can look at something like Gimmick and say, this works just fine as an NES game. This is great as is. This one I really think would have benefited from next generation hardware. Yeah.
It's fucking rad. It's such a fucking game of its time. The story of, like, the weird, whatever the fucking dude is trying to, like, sell robots to the government, but he's also an alien, and apparently the US dollar is, like, the international currency because they needed to sell the robots to fuel their invasion of Earth, which...
Oh, not just an alien. In the Galactic Empire. An alien specifically from outer space.
From outer space. Well, yes.
Oops,
not
the floor
space,
collapsed. No. Oops, the floor fucking collapsed. Awesome. I fucking love the dialogue in this game. It's so good.
That was my... One of my main criticisms with this game is actually that floor collapsing, because, like, all right, so, like, the floor collapsed, so I'm going to put this jetpack on real quick, fly back up and drop a nuke. Like, but this is over. I don't have to do this on my own anymore. This is a very easily solvable situation. I don't need to go through another couple of levels here. It's just fucking silly. My actual main complaint with this game is that I just feel it's a little overtuned when you're in the power suits, because the boss fights have some, like, there's definitely a lot of Mega Man and Contra inspiration, and there's some cool patterns that the bosses are doing, and you can do them that way, or you can put on the Patriot or Newt suit and just stand there and destroy them.
Yeah, you can,
like, you can absorb enough damage.
How there's just random dragons throughout. That seems really out of place. Which cool is how you robotic get the dragons. The green dragon boss guy, he was a pain in my ass, kind of. But yes, all in all, you were right. The Patriot suit is a bit overpowered.
Like, once you have that, you just stand there and you throw your beam, and you're good. Which is disappointing. You know, like, Mega Man always did that so well, to where there were very, very few instances, and it was so obviously done on purpose, like the Metal Blade killing Metal Man in one shot, you know, when you go through the fucking repeat thing. But there really, throughout Mega Man, is a good balance of not being able to stand there and just soak enough damage while you are doing enough damage to not have to play the boss fight. You know what I mean?
Yes, Mega Man was definitely more balanced around this game's
does not hit that balance.
It does not.
But overall, this is a game you should play. It is
Yeah,
a
I
game
agree.
you should fucking emulate because holy shit, is this game expensive. The last copy on eBay that I can see the actual price for sold on September 23rd, so 5 days ago. It is just the Power Blade 2 cart. Which do you have? Out of curiosity?
No, I do not.
Tell me you have this shit complete. All right. The Power Blade 2
I don't.
cart sold for $849.99 US cents.
That is not okay.
The last complete, the fucking manual sold, accepted an offer. It was listed at $350. They accepted an offer. The last complete also accepted an offer, but it was listed at $3,000 for a complete. Here I'm looking at a manual and game 1366 with 56 fucking bids.
That's madness. I have Shatterhands, which is not an entirely dissimilar game, but that I only have that
is
one
nowhere
loose.
near that much.
Yeah.
I sell that to Rumblemans, I think.
Yeah,
Shatterhands
is sitting around 73 now. What is my most expensive NES game? Let's see. It's probably my sealed Super Mario Brothers, and that's
it would have to be, right?
Yeah. Let's see. Ordered by price. Yes, obviously it's the Super Mario Brothers, which is listed right now at $4,500, but there's no way I would ever get a fraction of that for my sealed copy because it's not like original circle sealed hang tab or whatever.
Right.
But my CIB DuckTales 2 is up to $918.
That's insane. That's crazy. Yeah.
I paid $200 for it, which was also insane, but that was that was a different time. Bubble Bobble Part 2. I have the just cart and manual. It's up to $603. And Mega Man 1
wild.
CIB is at $581. Jesus Christ.
That's nuts. Do not pay. Nobody should pay that much money for Mega Man 1.
That's interesting that 1 and 5 are the expensive ones. Because I have all 6 of the NES ones complete. And 1 and 5. 1's at $581. 5 is at $356. And then right behind that is Dragon Warrior 4 at $334.
Huh.
Bananas.
Yeah.
And then the next Mega Man is all the way down in like several more games until I get the Mega Man 6 is the next most expensive at $222. Then 4. Then 2. And then 3. But all the Mega Mans are over 100 now. Crikey. Criminy.
That's crazy. I just saw as I'm oh my god. I am scrolling through eBay listings, and there's apparently a hack of the first Power Blade that replaces him with Captain America, and you throw your shield instead of boomerangs.
That is awesome.
I'm fucking finding that. Anyway, so
yes, back on topic. I think the
play
thing
this
that
game.
we really need to discuss before we move on is this game's ending.
Okay.
Was this a Christmas game?
I think so.
Because the ending of this game,
Christmas game,
it starts snowing and it's playing Silent Night. Why is the ending music to this game Silent Night, Dan? I want that explained to me. Because I've finished and I'm looking at the screen and I'm hearing this music and I can't quite place the music straight away. I'm like, why do I know this tune? And the reason I can't place it is because it is so out of place. It is so far removed from where you would normally hear this song. And I'm like thinking to him like, wait a second, this is fucking Silent Night. Is that snow? Was this a Christmas game? What is happening right now?
I think it very well might be. I think this needs to be the new Stone Age gamer holiday tradition of, at some point, maybe not on Christmas Day, that's maybe a bit much to ask, but somebody from the Stone Age gamer team, and I'm gonna nominate Matt Much because I feel like his would be the funniest, needs to fucking stream a complete playthrough, because it's not a very long game, it's only doing like an hour. A complete playthrough of Power Blade 2 for the Christmas season. That should be our gift to the listeners and Patreon subscribers.
Absolutely amazing.
Putting it out there.
All right, well, that was fun.
Speaking into existence. Yeah, where would you put this? No, we'll save that because we were talking about like ranking.
Right?
the
Yeah,
games.
we were.
I would put this pretty high.
Yeah, as far as we've played some shit. So but yeah, we're gonna have to do a ranking here of all the games. I forgot to compile all of the games because I wanted to do that because I feel like doing it as we're going along is kind of fun, like having having a running list of all of them.
Yeah, and that's something you and I can do off air and bring to the table.
Yeah,
but I feel like this will be pretty high.
I would think so too. Yeah, I'm having a hard time recalling all of the games we've played, but I definitely liked it better than Alicia Dragoon. So there's that.
Well, there you go. Do you like it better than Jersey Devil?
Definitely.
I didn't care. What did I pick? Life Force. Do you like it better than Life Force? I think I would put Life Force. I don't know. Higher.
I think Life Force definitely. I agree. I think that Life Force definitely goes above this one.
But I think there's a conversation there. You know, I think there is wildly different games, but I do think there is a legitimate conversation about that. Yeah.
Definitely better than Contra. Contra Legacy of War. What a shitload of fuck. All right, well, it's gonna be my pick for the letter Q. I love that I got stuck with the letter Q. That's fine.
Super easy.
I am choosing Qbert for the PlayStation and Dreamcast.
As well you should.
There were a couple of Qbert options that I was considering, but this one I haven't played in a very long time, and I remember really liking this one. So it's basically the same game for the PlayStation or the Dreamcast. The Dreamcast one obviously looks and plays a little bit smoother, but if you're shmemulating it, then the PlayStation one will probably do just fine. Qbert for PlayStation and Dreamcast. I remember liking it quite a bit. I hope I still do.
We're going to find out. I think that's a great pick. I think it's a safe pick, you know? Because Qbert, it's kind of hard to fuck up Qbert if you just do Qbert. It's kind of hard to fuck that up. Like, the premise is pretty solid.
Let's see, what other Q games do I even have?
Quicks.
Let's see, over my overall...
Kicks, however you pronounce that one.
That's a solid one. Let's see here. Just let's see if I'm missing anything overt in my... this is ordered by price. I need to order by title. And let's go down to the letter Q across all platforms. What have I got in the Q department? Just to make sure that I'm making the right pick here.
Right.
Because I think I am, but I didn't do a lot of thinking about it. I just no, I want to play Qbert. That's what I want to play. So that's what I
have not looked this up until just now.
Yeah. Let's see here.
Quake?
Let's see here. Goodness gracious me. I have too many video games.
Quap.
And Pikmin, Pipe Dream, Pitfall, Pokemon, Pong, Popeye, Prince of Persia, Punch Out. Here we go. Q. Qbert. Quicks, Quackshot, Quake, Quarantine. Ooh, Quartet for Master System. That would have been interesting.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm sticking with my pick. Qbert.
No, it's
for
Qbert.
PlayStation Dreamcast. Yeah.
Yeah, next year it'll be Quake. Spoilers.
Oh, what's that? Well, you don't know. Maybe I'll wind up with it again. I don't know how this works.
Well, no, because we're just going to switch. Like, that would be silly.
I guess that would be silly. I should take we'll switch when we get back to the letter. So you'll be the next letter A.
Yeah.
Alicia Dragoon 2. All right, so there you go. Qbert for PlayStation and Dreamcast. That is it. That's our next pick for the Alphabet Super Series, and that is our show. Join us next time for the 10, 20, 30, 40. Because September's effectively over. We're in October territory now. It's the spooky season.
Right.
So
that's right. It's time to play Pumpkin Jack again.
Time to just play Shade Man stage from Mega Man 7 over and over again.
That's it.
Oh, boy. Anyways, we're on most social media platforms, and if you want to get in touch with us, we aren't very difficult to find. All it takes is a quick look at our show notes, and you'll see links to our social media accounts, as well as all manner of other fun stuff, like a link to our namesake, StoneAgeGamer.com, and more useful links than you can shake a joystick at. If you'd like to get early access to this show's episodes, as well as a bevy of other shows on the Geekade Podcast Network, check out our Patreon, also linked to in the show notes. It helps keep the show running week after week, and all our patrons are loved and appreciated. This show's theme song, Squared Roots, was written by banjo guy Ollie. You can learn all about his wonderful music and more by following the link to his YouTube channel, also in the show notes. And finally, as always, we'd like to thank our intrepid editor, Evan, for making the show listenable for all you folks. I'd like to thank all you folks for listening in the first place. That is it. On behalf of Dan and myself, keep playing games.